What is going on, party people in the house? I'm gonna finish up this tweet. We did a longer one. Like everyone else has got like a 1 minute countdown. I got like 20 seconds. Like I literally get 20 seconds. Everyone else has got like a long countdown. I got the shortest countdown of anyone. So now we gotta wait. All right, hold on a second. Well, let's change that. It's too fast. That's what she said. Hold on. Yeah, y'all have to wait. I'm sorry. I got a tweet. It's ridiculous. I'm using a Drake tweet since he was just here. All right. What is going on, every single body? Everybody. Well, there's other shows got longer intros. I'm just saying. I'm in a great mood as always. Welcome back to the old-fashioned sports show. I am your host, Anwar Richardson. Good morning. It is Wednesday, the 13th of September, as we are barreling, and I mean barreling through this month. I hope everyone is having a good time, good week. It looks like there's some rain out there. You guys checking this thing out? There's actually what is this foreign substance that's out there? I went for a walk this morning. I wasn't dying out in my walk, so that felt pretty good. And then not too long after I get back in, this foreign substance coming from the sky that will not be able to revitalize my horrible dead grass. It's allegedly a lawn. It's horrible. It's crap. Thank God HOA can't go in my backyard. I know how to keep it good in the front, but the backyard looks like a freaking war zone. So, oh well, it is what it is. I'm not selling it anytime soon. So I think I'm going to look into some of that fake grass and put it back there. Just lie to myself. How's everyone doing, man? I hope everyone's having a fantastic week. Make sure I give a shout out. I always like to give the shout outs to the early folks. Rodolfo, I did notice you got bested today. Soda got in before you. Sorry to hear that for you, Rodolfo. You were second, though. You get silver, but Soto 806, he's got you today. Alan, good morning to you as always. Zio_V, the Hennessy bottle that you are. Good morning to you, Buck Wild. That guy, Kick. Text guy, of course, Charles Rhodes is back. Good to see you, even though I still can't see what that avatar looks like. Mike Payton, just another fragrance reviewer, which I got to get the backstory on that one after a while. But Sark, I'm just going to go through them real quick. Another 15 seconds. Sark after Doc. That guy kicked my tube 956. What kind of burner account is my tube running over here? Don't worry, I ain't gonna tell on you. Brandon, Cameron, Chris Nelson, what's going on? Team, my main man, Brett Barry's in here. Colby's in here. Brandon. And of course, I think I mentioned Cameron Parker, but I'm looking at my tube 95635, and I'm like, somebody's got a burner account. Like somebody don't want wifey to know what he's doing. Somebody got a burner account. I ain't trying to call you out. I'm just trying to be honest. And what up, Kiki? But wow, you already getting this party started. I haven't even gotten a chance to even get into the intros. Let's go ahead and do it, man. It's your show. It's our show, so let's go ahead and do it. Buckwild, you want to get the thing started with a super chat? We'll go ahead and get this thing started with a super chat. Good morning to you, Buckwild. Hope all's going well. Because real quick, Anwar, am I the only one getting aggravated that it seems like the national media is asking what's wrong with Bama? Not that Texas is a damn good team this year. Just my rant. Buckwild, I understand where you're at. Because there's always it goes back to the question of, did a team win or another team lose, right? That's what it always comes back to. Like, did one team win, did another team lose? And so people are saying that Bama's lost as opposed to Texas winning. So yeah, that narrative does kind of become a little bit insulted because nobody was saying what was wrong with Bama before this game. Like, that wasn't the narrative. So it wasn't like this was a confirmation of the things that you already believed. Bama went into that game as a 7-point favorite. So Buckwild, to your point, people didn't give them a chance to really win that game. Majority of people picked against them. A lot of Longhorn fans picked against them. Nothing wrong with that. It is what it is. But now that's where you say you give Texas credit, and then you give the and not Bama. But this is why, Buckwild, And this, I'm gonna keep it buck with you. I'm gonna keep it real. I'm gonna keep it a buck with Buck Wild. I didn't plan on that, but sometimes it just flows like that, Buck Wild. It just comes out of me, man. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to control the smoothness that I have. But this is why, seriously, as a person who worked locally and a person who's worked nationally, okay, working at Yahoo, for a period of time, this is why the local stuff is really important. And this is why, because the Nationals, and I'm gonna be, I will, okay. I'm gonna tell you this. I'm gonna tell you this. As a national writer, so I was a national writer for Yahoo, and when I was a national NFL writer for Yahoo, I would get invited on all kinds of stations, like come on Buffalo, whatever, to talk about the Buffalo Bills. Come on to Kansas City, whatever radio station. Can you talk about the Chiefs? Can you talk about this and that? And so here's the deal. As a national person, because there's so much for me to cover, I didn't know all the specifics about every team that I was talking about. I couldn't really necessarily go do a too deep. Do you get what I'm saying? I had enough surface knowledge to talk to you about the Dolphins. I had enough surface knowledge to talk to you about just about every team and this and that. But to give you specifics, no. That's why your local is so much more important, is so much more relevant. Because if you expect the Nationals to kind of validate, not really going to always happen. They don't have the knowledge. What is the national knowledge of? Bama, Nick Saban. That's what they know. That's easy, low-lying fruit for them. But to actually get into the specifics in the weeds of Texas, to know about the recruiting classes, let me tell you guys, I still go on shows. I was on a show last week. I think it was the Chuck Oliver show. I don't know. And it was Chuck Oliver. I forget. No, it wasn't Chuck Oliver. It was another show. Regardless, so they asked me, and they go, they literally asked, so why didn't Quinn Ewers play in the first game? Why didn't and then they go, why didn't he play against Bama? And I was like, because he's a third string quarterback. So when does Quinn get? So they go, so when is Arch going to get a chance to play? That's what they asked me about Arch. They kept asking me about Arch. I was like, he's a third string quarterback. He's behind Malik Murphy. In the national mind, they don't even know Malik Murphy exists. They know Quinn, but they feel like Arch should be playing. So because of that, so I'm just telling you, like, I still get asked about Arch Manning when I go on shows. I get off of here and I go on someone's show nationally. They ask me about Arch Manning. So that's why, Buck, while I understand your frustration, but I would tell you that when it comes to national media, if I was you, I would lower my expectations. And I say this as a person who used to be a member of the national media. I will tell you, lower your expectations when it comes to them. Rely on your locals for the things that you need. Rely on us. Rely on this channel. Rely on Orangebloods, because there's currently a sign up. So that'd be a hell of a good segue to go into that, where you get 60% off, the first 2 months of 60-day free trial. Using that code, Texas Arrives. That's the things that you got to do. You got to rely on the locals to give you that local feel, but don't rely on the nationals. They ain't going to give it. They're not going to do it. I'm telling you. Been in that chair. I've been in that seat. It ain't going to happen. This is where it's at. It's right here on channels like this. It's right here on Orangebloods. There you go. Your 60-day free trial. That's where you're going to get the information that you want. And screw it to the locals. You don't need their validation, because Texas beat Bama down, and that's all that matters. All right. They got me started, man. But why get me started, man? I wasn't trying to start this show in fifth gear, but here we are in fifth gear already. All right. Let me go down. Do people even still drive stick shifts nowadays? I don't even know. I'm assuming they sell cars like that, but do people drive stick shifts nowadays? I think Tom G, your car is a stick, right? Tom, the Porsche. I think he drives like a 5-speed or a 6-speed or something to that effect. But yeah, nonetheless, 6-speed. All right, listen. Welcome to the show. If this is your first time here you go. This is what we do. This is what I do. This is it. It's you always got me started already. I haven't even gotten into what does Tom G use? A PDK7? Is that what he's saying? I don't even know. Maybe say Pick 7. Maybe he's having a private conversation, not talking to me about his car. The first portion of the show is brought to you by my main man, Eric Sells Homes DFW. Because if you're looking for a home in the DFW area, you have to look no further than my main man, Eric Torres, El Presidente himself. You're looking to buy a home, looking to sell a home, whatever it is, whatever you're looking for in that area, my main man, he's got you covered. He'll even travel a little bit for you. I know I haven't said this in a while. He ain't traveling to Killeen. He's not traveling to your little dirty little city in Killeen. We'll travel anywhere else. Shout out to the people in Killeen. I'll never eat there because I know I got too many receipts. But go ahead, hit up Eric Sells Homes DFW. There's the QR code right there. Looking to buy or sell. Today is really the perfect time to do that. So if you're looking for something, need to get some preliminary work done, do that as well. By the way, today's show, got some guests lined up for you. That's going to be really cool for you. Don't say Unc doesn't try to deliver on the guests. I mean, not everybody can be SEC Mike, so let's go ahead and do that. But you saying, Tom G, it's a 7-speed. It's a Porsche automatic. Okay. Did you know that, Aaron, that Porsche has a 7-speed that's an automatic? I don't even know what kind of sorcery that is. I don't even know what that means. Like, I get it, but so you didn't want to do the thing? Okay. I got Clarence Hill from the Fort Worth Star-Telegram. He's going to be in at 9:20 a.m. Clarence is actually, for you guys who are unfamiliar, of course, he covers the Cowboys. You might be familiar with that. What you may not know is that he's a huge Longhorn fan, went to UT, and he was actually at the game on Saturday. He made the trek up there. Because he wanted to be a part of that game, wanted to be a part of something that he thought would be special. And then he flew up to New York to cover the Giants game on that Sunday. That's dedication to him. I saw him at the game on Saturday. I don't know how much he had to drink before I saw him, but I feel like he looked like he was having a real good time. I know what a good time looks like, and I know what a really good time looks like. He looked like he was having a really good time. So he's going to come in. Going to give me a little bit of a fan perspective of what it was like being there in Tuscaloosa, seeing that win firsthand. So we'll get Clarence Hill at 9:20. And then at 10:20, we're going to have Ian McMackin, who covers Wyoming. You guys have asked about Wyoming. I think someone started out Catch's show yesterday, Catch and Chad Hastings at 12, talking about wanting some more Wyoming talk. and of course, gave Catch a big laugh. But I'm going to give you some Wyoming talk, so we know what the hell's going on. I'll be honest with you. We know. Here's what we know: Texas is playing Wyoming. That's it. That's all we know. So I'm going to have Ian McMackin on to really break down a little bit more of what Wyoming, what we should and shouldn't know. How the hell did they beat Texas Tech? Is this a team that we should know something? Well, I'm going to get the details on that. So I have that as well. So we should have a full show going. I think I got everything covered just about now. So yeah, good morning. Thank you. Hit the like button, please. Hit the share as well. You guys, and last thing I'll say before I really get started into the things I want to talk about, the last thing I want to say is thank you. I feel like the numbers were really good yesterday. Numbers were really good for the live show. The numbers were really good for the replay of the interview with SEC Mike Bratton, who is a friend of the show. And I know I asked a lot of you people to share the video with folks. And so I know that has to do with it, that you guys probably not only liked it, but share it with your friends and put it on your socials. So thank you for doing that. I appreciate it. And feel free to continue doing that as well. Because today, I got started off. Buck Wild got me started off. He made me get into his rant, and I really wasn't trying to go into that. I had a really good night of sleep. Woke up feeling really fresh, revitalized. My skin feeling good. I need to shave, but my skin was feeling soft. But then he got me mad, and I still got a little bit of not huge hostility, but I got a little bit of something that I want to kind of talk to you guys about, a little bit of something that I want to get off my chest. And I'm super excited to kind of have this with you. So good morning to you. Hope you're still basking in the glow. This is my wall over here. This for you guys here. So that's the press thing from Bama. That's what it's like a seat card. So You can see it's seat B23, Orangebloods, Bryant-Denny Stadium. Wish the A wasn't so big. Kind of is what it is. And of course, Texas OU from last year, 49-0. I'm hoping that you guys are enjoying that one as well. Just want to make sure when you look at me, not only looking at me, and this baby face, by the way, for those of you who may or may not know, who's that dude on his face? It's baby face right here. I've got the baby face shirt on. All right, let's do this thing. So one of the things I outlined for you guys yesterday, let's get into it. Really happy. One of the things I outlined for you guys yesterday is kind of what my mantra is in not only life, but especially as relates to sports. We all got different mantras. We all got different thoughts and beliefs, but I have certain things that are my pillars of Anwar, pillars of who I am. And one of those things is keep that same energy. I'm okay if you want to dish it out. I'm okay if that's where you're at. I'm okay if you want to go ahead and talk your talk. I get it. Go ahead, do what you want to do. But guess what? When the roles get reversed, when something gets put back in your face, my thing is keep that same energy. What you'll hear me say certain things like stay on your porch. If you're gonna bark, stay on your porch. Don't run. Don't hide. You're going to yap. Stay on your porch. Because when I go ahead and open up that little fence and come on in, I don't want you hiding. I don't want you running to the backyard. I don't want you to go and get mama. I don't want you to do none of that. Stay on your porch. And so one of the things I really kind of got into yesterday, and I spent a lot of time on the beginning portion of the show, was let's talk about Quinn Ewers, right? And I outlined all of the criticisms that Quinn Ewers had received last year, right? And you could say it was justified, and there were reasons to justify it. There was highs and there were some lows. There was also reasons to believe that it wasn't that day, those days wouldn't be forever. But nonetheless, my thing was, hey, if you criticized him in the past, now's the time where you better praise him. Don't hide. Don't run away from it. If you did it, that's okay. Own up to it. Stay on your porch. That's all right. But you can go the other way. And it's all right to say, you know what? Kind of was wrong. This person kind of proved me wrong. Because in life, it's so easy. It's so easy to look for the negatives about people. And then when things go well, notice that in life that people are so hesitant to praise you. You got people like your boss or something like that at your job, always want to find something wrong that you did. But then when you do something right, you don't hear anything from them. They're just silent on it. Again, when's the last time someone said something positive to you about, hey man, just really appreciate you being a dad. Hey, I really appreciate you being a mom. Hey, you know what? You're a really good girlfriend. I want to do something special for you. But people, when you do something wrong, oh, that's when they pipe up. Oh, they pipe up. That's when you hear from them the most, right? My thing is, if you're going to dish out criticism, then you also got to dish out praise. And I got into the thing that I thought was really important. And I got into a little bit of psychology with you guys as well. And I went into what's called the 5-to-1 ratio. Yes, Unc knows certain things. Don't think I just know sports. I do a lot of different things in life. There's a 5-to-1 ratio out there, which means for every 5 negative things or criticisms that you deal out to a person, for every one criticism, let me start again. For every one criticism that you deal out to a person, they need to hear 5 positive things in order to balance it out within their head. So for every one criticism you dish out to somebody, whether it's in a relationship, whether it's in a job, whether it's in the classroom, whatever area it is in life, you have to say 5 positive things. That means you say 2 negative things, you got to do 10. That's that ratio. That's how it works. It's a psychology thing. That's why people and bosses don't always get the best out of their employees. Why? Because the employees are so used to hearing the negatives that they very rarely hear the positives of the things that they do. And so it's really hard. That's how relationships struggle, because the people are so used to hearing the negatives. And even if they hear 2 negatives, if they don't hear the 10 positives from a psychological aspect, it doesn't register. Those things are where it need to happen. And so that's where I'm all about that energy, keeping that energy like, hey, if you criticize somebody, make sure when they do right that you go ahead and give them that praise that they rightfully deserve. And that's going to bring me to the guy that we're going to talk about, the guy that was ripped for at least year 1, not appreciated in year 2, who deserves all of his flowers in year 3. And that guy is Pete Kwikowski. So we're going to come back. We're going to do a quick little pause. Let's outline that case. The same way I outlined the stuff with Quinn Ewers yesterday, let's outline Pete K, because if anyone deserves some flowers, boy, we need to do a botanical gardens for Pete K. Quick break. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
This Orangebloods recruiting flashback focuses on one of the best defensive playmakers for the Texas program over the last decade. I'm talking about edge rusher Joseph Ossai. Ossai was one of the best players to come out of Tom Herman's 2018 recruiting class, although he was a low 4-star prospect who only ranked number 31 in the state by Rivals.com. Not a single recruiting service had him ranked as an elite prospect or inside of a national top 125 list. When we look at Ossai's recruitment, it was pretty cut and dry fairly early on that there were 3 schools that stood out above the rest. From the summer of 2017 all the way into October and November, Ossai kept a top 3 of Texas, Texas A&M, and Notre Dame. Of the Longhorns, Ossai said that Todd Orlando and Oscar Giles used the following sales pitch on him. Quote, "They tell me I can be that Nashawn Hughes type of player. When I watch some of these close games that they've been in, I can place myself in that defense and see myself making the moves to finish those plays. I watch how I could impact the defense and picture helping some of those close games be wins." The battle eventually turned into a Texas versus Texas A&M battle, with Tom Herman's staff taking on a Jimbo Fisher staff that had just replaced Kevin Sumlin. In fact, the Aggies had been considered the heavy frontrunner for Ossai, but the dynamics of his recruitment changed the moment Sumlin was fired from Texas A&M. It was the opening that the Longhorns dearly needed and received. In fact, by the time January had rolled around, Orangebloods was reporting from an A&M source that the Longhorns had taken the lead for Ossai. On the last weekend before signing day, Ossai took a surprise official visit to Oregon, but it still turned out to be a battle between the Longhorns and Aggies all the way up until signing day, when he eventually chose the Longhorns.
So Quinn said, bringing a national guy to talk Wyoming. Boy, you wanna talk about crickets? You got to be crickets there. Good luck with that one. So let's go back. Because they're probably in year 1 of Steve Sarkisian's tenure here at the University of Texas. Obviously things didn't go the way that everyone would have hoped for, right? That's just obvious. We don't have to rehash it and go into all the specifics of it. And I feel like there probably wasn't a person who was more criticized on that staff than Pete Kwikowski, right? I mean, you find me the person that everybody was just kind of like, down on. And I'm not saying myself, but there was a lot of people who had a lot of questions about Pete K. And his defense, let's just be honest, from a statistical standpoint, it wasn't good. It was not a good defense at all. None of his players really stood out in 2021. It was so bad, and the defense was so bad after the 2021 season. There's an interview session with Pete K. And I started saying, "Hey, Pete, wanted to talk to you about the pass rush from last season." And he interrupts me and he goes, "What pass rush?" And I was like, oh, snap. This dude's being honest. Like, I didn't even get a chance to finish my question. And he's like, what pass rush? I'm like, oh, so, okay, so you're well aware. This is going to be a genuine conversation that is going to be had. And so the year one doesn't go well at all, right? It just is not, it's not a good thing. Year two comes around and something happens that probably ends up being good and a little bit bad as far as Pete K is concerned. What happens is Steve Sarkisian eventually hires Gary Patterson as an analyst to help out on the staff. But the good part is, okay, you hired a notable name to help you out on staff. The bad part is you hired a notable name to help you out on your staff. Because obviously here in Austin, University of Texas, Gary Patterson is viewed kind of as a giant killer. He's that guy that would come in and find ways to upset Texas. And you think to yourself, damn it, man, how are you able to do it? It got so bad to the point that I did coin the phrase, how many 5 stars does it take to be TCU? Because that's what I would always hear about, Catch and Jason, and they'll talk to me about the importance of 5 stars and 5 stars this and 5 stars that and blue chip this and blue chip that. And I'm like, look, man, I hear all you saying. All I know is I see TCU winning. I see Oklahoma State winning. I see Baylor winning. I'm seeing Kansas State winning. And all I'm trying to ask you is how many 5 stars do you need to be TCU? I hear it. But come on. So I kept hearing. For me, it just kind of kept repetitive. I'm like, there's other programs out there who are recruiting their guys, developing their guys, and having more success than Texas. And that's what Gary Patterson did. He was very good at that too. And he introduced a lot of good concepts, here. He he really focused in on like the DBs. He had a good expertise in that and attacking from the back end, and to attacking to the front. Like that's kind of was a point of emphasis for him, something that he kind of helped introduce to the staff. He was a person that helped devise a game plan for Alabama. And he's a person that really positioned himself that if things go well, he would get all the praise. If things didn't, he'd be able to step back and say, it's not my defense. I got nothing to do with me. And it's not to say that he was talking or had those things, but it would be the perception of folks that this thing is all because of Patterson. And the success is because of him, and the failure would be because of Pete K. It was really, if we're being honest, really a messed up situation. Like this, it really is. Could you imagine being in a situation that if it succeeds, it's all because of the other person, and if it fails, it's all because of you? Like, dang, man! Like, can a brother get a break? Damn! But that's kind of where it was, right? And that's kind of how that whole situation kind of got set up. So there was success that was had from year one to year two, for 2021 to 2022, that I gave Pete K credit for. And not enough other people did. But for the first year, the defense was ranked 100th nationally. 2022, they end up being ranked 51st nationally. So that's a 50-point jump under Pete K's defense. Total defense. They were ranked in the Big 12. They were ranked 8th in the first year. Second year, they finished 2nd. Huge jump. Going from 425 yards per game to 362. Sacks, they were ranked 7th. Last season, they finished ranked 3rd. Went from 20 to 27. Tackles for loss, 7th in year one. 2022, they finished 2nd. And then opponent third down conversions ended up being right around the same, 7th to 6th. And when it was all said and done, too many people gave Gary Patterson credit. Now, again, all off season, I remember looked back, did some research, wrote an article in December about, hey, got to give PK his credit, give PK his due, wrote articles in the summer, kind of echoing the same thing. And I will stay on that same porch and stay on that same mantle. So here's what happens. So the whole season's over. Gary Patterson decides he's going to go back to Fort Worth, so on and so forth. And then somehow, some way, before the season, this thing starts circulating out there that Gary Patterson is thinking about coming back to Texas. And everybody, I'm getting hit on the show. Hey, well, is he going to come back? Blah, blah. Like, there's like this panic, like, oh my God, you gotta have Gary, we gotta have Gary. Like, come on, man. Is he coming back? You guys were like Pookie in New Jack City, man. You guys are like, it just keeps calling me, man. It just keeps calling me, man. Like, Gary keeps calling me, man. You're like crying and everything, hoping that he comes back, singing Boys to Men to him, talking about, tell us how we get things back the way they used to be. Like, you're down on bended knee, like, please come back, Gary. Like, that's where you guys, some of you guys, a lot of you guys were from a panic standpoint. Like, I've got to have some GP, like Kurt Franklin, GP, are you with me? That's where, I mean, like, you guys were so GP'd out. And I didn't understand why. Did not understand why. Because I kept thinking to myself, well, first and foremost, do you even want somebody who hasn't even been around all season long to just show up a week or so into training camp because he can? Like, with all due respect, this is not like a program that he's built where I feel like somebody could just walk in and just, okay, like, no, this is a program that you're foreign to. They opened their arms to you, but you can't just walk in like a week later, like all the heavy lifting done. You're like, hello, fellas, I'm here. Like, to do what? To do what? No, we're not gonna do that. He doesn't. For whatever reason, doesn't show up. And I think it ends up being a good thing, to be quite honest with you. I think it's good for both parties because I think it's good for PK to establish himself like he's that dude. And it's good to know that Gary Patterson was really good. He was really helpful. He did introduce a lot of concepts. But for me, I don't think PK needed that shadow over him. I think he needs this for everyone to, one, get off his back, and two, for him to establish himself. Like, he is that dude, the person that you thought you were getting from when he got hired from Washington, the same person that people questioned after he was hired from Washington. That now becomes the guy that you look at and you say to yourself, all right, he is. I won't go with he is him with quite yet, but he is pretty damn good. He's pretty damn good. And let's look at Bama. Let's enjoy the glow. Let's enjoy just at least one more day or so. I mean, actually, hell, I say you enjoy it for a lifetime, quite honest with you. But we'll have other games and other things to talk about. But let's talk about what happened in Bama, and let's talk about the defense that showed up. Because we spent so much time talking about the offense, so much time talking about Quinn, throughout the offseason, and Xavier and the offensive line, and Adonai Mitchell. I hope I'm saying his name correctly. I'm gonna make sure I'm saying his name correctly. Let's check the pronunciation guide. I don't want. Where is it? Where's the pronunciation guide on here? Oh, here we go. Let me make sure. I just want to make sure I've said it correct. Why is there not a pronunciation guide over here in Texas? It should be somewhere. Anyway, I just want to make sure I'm saying it correct. I want to make sure it's Adonai, because that's what it looks like. It looks like a Bible name. Shop specs, of course. I'm gonna get into specs in a second. Let's look at the Bama game. Okay. Texas held Alabama scoreless in the first quarter. That is the first time that Crimson Tide failed to score since playing Ole Miss in the previous year. The Longhorns limited the Crimson Tide to 6 first-half points. Just the second time in the last 18 games. Let me say that one more time. Longhorns held the Crimson Tide to 6 first-half points. On the road, baby. This is the second time in the last 18 games, right? And speaking of that nice little 6, aka not a lot, Alabama's first 6.5 points, that was their fewest at home since scoring 3 first-half points against Arkansas in October 2015. But why you want to know? But why this is why you listen to this show, and this is why you don't care about what the Nationals say, because here you'll get all the information that you want about your team, as opposed to waiting for someone else to validate them. And by the way, I know you want the Bama roster thing, but while I have promised that sheet to someone, so I can't give that one up. I'm so sorry for you. I apologize. Texas had overall 5 sacks in the game. That's the most surrendered by the Crimson Tide since 2021, and the most at home since 2015. And the 5 sacks were the most for a non-conference opponent at Bryant-Denny Stadium since 2012, when Western Kentucky somehow dropped 6 sacks on them. And then here's another important point. After taking a 34-24 lead with about 18 remaining, Pete Kwikowski's defense. Let's get used to saying that, right? Because we say Steve Sarkisian's offense. Well, let's talk about Pete Kwikowski's defense. Not the Longhorn defense, not the Texas defense. Pete Kwikowski's defense forced Alabama to a 3-and-out. Then Steve Sarkisian's offense took over and ran 12 plays in the final 7-14 to go into victory formation on the road against Alabama. Now, let's go to Pete K. Let's go to what he's been able to accomplish this season. Now we start talking about the progression that he's been able to make. And you got to start now looking at year one. Because I would say, once is an accident, twice is it habit. Once is an accident, twice it happens. Something happens to you one time, you can excuse it, right? Somebody, you at work, and somebody accidentally ate your food, and you're like, all right, I'm going to let that one slide. Something's happened. Maybe we had the same Tupperware or something like that. All right, I'm going to let that one go. But they do that thing again, you're not going to be as forgiving. Hey, once is an accident, twice is a habit. I already knew. And I'm starting to look at year one. I'm starting to look at year one under PK, and I'm looking to myself, I'm saying, that's the accident. Because this, what we're seeing over the past 2 years, this is more of the norm. This is kind of what I'm thinking. This is it. And that now it flips in a positive aspect, because now I look at the number one year as like the throwout year, the anomaly year. Because in year one, this defense was ranked. And look, I'm going to tell you stats from this season. I'm going to give you some stats from this season. Understand that it's only 2 games in. So whether the stats are good or meh, understand it's 2 games, 10 more to go, a lot more football to be played. It's just a small barometer, small gauge, small look into where this defense is at. But let's look at the gains that have been had so far under Pete K. Total defense under Pete K in year one, already told you, they're ranked 100th. Last season, total defense ranked 51st. Right now, only 2 games, they're ranked 28th in the country. 100 in year one, 28. Here we are in year 3. There's a percentage out there of an increase. Someone out there who's smarter than me could tell me that percentage, because I got too much more stuff to get into. But that's a hell of a jump to go from 100 out of like 130 something schools to being in the top percentile as well. Total defense in the Big 12. Year one, they're ranked 8th. Year 2, ranked 2nd. Right now, they're ranked 4th. But this is an interesting stat. I want you to look at this one. Look at this. Total defense, in year one, they were giving up 425 yards per game. You know what they're giving up right now after 2 games? And on an average, 269. 425 in year one. 269 right now. So again, they may be ranked 4th, but when it's all said and done and this whole thing gets sorted out, and these other teams that are maybe ranked ahead start playing real teams or in the conference, like it's gonna get tough on them. They're not going to be able to really maintain that, right? We understand that Texas has already faced like a tough team, so we understand that. It's going to get hard on some people out here in these streets, and it's going to get a lot better for Texas because we saw the games from week 1 to week 2. And then what's this thing going to look like in week 5 and week 6 and week 7 as it get into week 10 in the Big 12 championship game, and then the playoffs and all that playoffs? Hell yeah! I mean, why not? Making plans in December. I'm trying to see. I looked up Brett McMurphy. He had a bowl projection, and he had Texas playing against Georgia in the Sugar Bowl. By the way, I know someone asked me a few weeks ago about the Sugar Bowl stuff because I remember I had said something about Texas playing in the Cotton Bowl. They're like, "What's this? Don't you win? You go to Sugar Bowl." Sugar Bowl is part of the CFP, and I've actually been meaning to get back to this for like the past couple of weeks. Sugar Bowl is part of the CFP, so Texas right now is projected. We could be bringing in the new year in New Orleans. And by the way, if we do that, if we do that, and New Year's is going to be in New Orleans, hey, on December the 30th, I turned 50 years old. And if we're in New Orleans, can we party there? Can we do an Anwar's 50th birthday party in New Orleans? If that is what's going down, like, would everyone sign up for that? Like, can we do? I just kind of curious. Want to know where everyone's head at, but I just want to throw that out there, if possible. So we see where the defense is at. So we go from 425 to 269. Sacks have gone on an interesting pace. So we've got in 2021, Texas finishes 7th in the conference in sacks, 20 sacks. Right now, they have 7. They're tied for 4th, but that's averaging to about 3.5 per game. That means that Texas, if they keep this pace up, they're on pace to have 42 sacks this season. Now, clearly, there's going to be highs and lows, and so we understand that it's going to be hard to do that. But we know we already know they had 20 in a year in 2021, and they have 7 so far in 2 games. Hello, that's a gain. That's a jump. That happened. Tackles for loss. You've seen that. That's kind of right. 7th in the first year at 72. Last year they had 87. Right now they got 14. That on pace for about 84. So tackles for loss should be about the same. And opponent's third down conversion should be right around the same. Maybe it could be a little bit better within that. Right now they're tied for 7. They had on pace for 84 last season. They gave up 87. That's been some of the progress that you've seen as relates to the defense itself as a unit. Now let's get into a little bit more of the specifics, get more into the weeds of PK's defense, other things that I find to myself and I look to myself and I say to myself, this is what they are doing extremely well. Player development. Let's talk about player development and what that kind of has looked like. We could start with some of the young guys. Let's start with the young guys. We'll work to our way to some of the older ones as well. But let's get into the player development. This season, Ethan Burke, that was one of our questions going into the season is what's going to happen on the edge position on the opposite of Sorrell. And the question that mark was around Ethan Burke, what he would be able to bring to that position. Well, through the first 2 games of the season, he leads the Longhorns with 3 tackles for loss and is tied on the team with 2 sacks. And he also has 7 tackles on the season. Again, that's a person who came in, lacrosse player, a little bit thin, put the time in the workroom. Always loved Ethan Burke, by the way. During my old podcast, I think I had him on as a guest at one point. Really good guy. I got a chance to interview him on Monday. Still feel the same way about him. But look at the development of a guy like Ethan Burke. Then looking at that game, looking at that Bama game, Anthony Hill. He has 2 sacks. And then, included that out on the Alabama's final offensive play, deep in their own territory, that ends up kind of being one of the daggers that happens against Bama. Again, that's somebody that they've helped develop. Malik Muhammad, he had 5 tackles solo against Rice. So that's just it from like a young person stand out. I got some more than young people like Leon on the foul. We'll talk a little bit more about those guys as well. And then let's talk about some of the guys that I feel to myself. I said, I won't call these guys left for dead, but there are some carryovers from the Tom Herman era. Like there really are. There really have been. And so you look at the development standpoint, what PK has been able to do. Go back to last season. Go back to the emergence of Keandre Coburn and Moro Jomo. Now, how many of you, show of hands, honesty, walked into last season, honest now, and told yourself, you know what? I think Moro Jomo's going to be a draft pick. You didn't say that. You did not say. If you said it, I want to know where. Because I don't think anyone said that. But yet, look what they were able to do as far as developing him into an NFL player. Same goes for Keandre. Keandre was a good player, but he didn't reek of, that guy is definitely going to be in the NFL. He was borderline. And then this staff was able to bring the most out of him. Pete K was able to bring the most out of him. Bo Davis able to bring the most out of him. Like, that's what they've been able to do. Underrated, but yet sometimes underappreciated. But yet here we are with them developing players. Look at some of the other guys. Look at this season. Look at the Keaton Crawfords of the world, David Bendas, Jared Thompsons. And look at how good those guys have been playing. The Jared Thompson, he's a guy, he starts at 12 of 13 games last season. And then in Alabama, he's a guy that comes up with the fourth quarter interception. And then of course that leads to a touchdown by Jonathan Brooks, right? And that gives Texas a 9-point lead, but that's Jared Thompson. People questioning Keaton Crawford. I remember reporting in the offseason about Keaton Crawford and all the things that he was doing, all the things that he was accomplishing. And I just kept getting questions like, well, if Keaton Crawford's contributing, this team ain't going to be really good. Well, guess what? Keaton Crawford's contributing. This team's really good. I reported about David Benda and how good David Benda was playing, and how much they liked him. And people kept saying, well, if David Benda's contributing, this team's not going to be really good. And guess what? David Benda's contributing, and this team is really good. Why? But this staff, this defensive staff gets a hold of someone. I don't care what they may or may not have accomplished in the past. When they find and identify those guys, and you say to yourself, I haven't heard that name in a couple of years. No, it's about to get ugly in here. No, they found a way, somehow, some way, found a way to get the most out of some guys who have been left for dead, who have been afterthoughts, people that you thought and those guys have come and looked strong and gotten better. Look at a guy like a Jalen Ford who went into last season and think about all the question marks last year about, man, what's going to be, who is DeMarvion Overshown and who? Now, I kept saying Jalen Ford, but there was question marks. And, he just ends up being one of the best linebackers on the team and ends up being one of the best linebackers in the country. And you can easily see him as a third-round pick going into next season. Why? It could again be higher, sure, but I think the more success this team has, the better off that is for him. But is that possible? Yeah, because they were able to get the most out of him. And by the way, now might be a good time if my roses, my shout-outs, my everything, Jeff Choate, that linebackers coach is legit. I'm sorry. I know you don't want to hear this, but I'm all about people prospering and getting ahead. And I'm not crabbing in the bucket kind of mentality. So that's not who I am. But so when I say this, don't clutch your pearls. Jeff Choate should be a defensive coordinator somewhere. He should. The way he's developing these linebackers at a high rate, he should. Like, he is getting the most out of these guys. Like, he really is. Whether it's the linebacker, whether it's the Jalen Fords, the Marvion Overshones, whether it's Anthony Hill, but whether it's David Benda, I mean, Leona LaFau, like you name it, whether they're a 5-star or a person who's been on the roster for a while, they're getting the most out of them. That's the great part. That's the amazing part of what he's able to do. Another person to think about, Alfred Collins, right? Alfred Collins is another person that kind of was left for dead. And like, here he is. Look what Alfred Collins able to do. So again, this is a Pete K thing. This is a Pete K. You want to know why your defense is so good? You want to know why your defense is elite? It starts with having coaches who know how to get the most out of the guys and don't know how to get the most out of their players. And that's one of the keys to the drill. So let me do this. I'll do a quick break. When I come back, I'm going to tell you something else I think this defense has done great at. This defensive staff has done great at. Another bed of roses that I think that needs to be given to these guys, because this is a portion that is probably, when I talk about the secret sauce, this here is the absolute secret sauce into all the success that they're having. They're damn good coaches. But we'll talk about another aspect on the other side of this break.
Corey Redding, the linebacker from Galena Park, North Shore High School. USA Today rated him as the best high school defensive player in the nation. That's incredible. Today he verbally committed to play his college ball for Max Brown and the Horns. He's the kind of defensive difference maker the Texans hadn't been able to get in years past, so it appears things are changing.
This Orangebloods recruiting flashback focuses on one of the most important recruiting wins in the history of the Texas program. Former 5-star defensive end Corey Redding out of Galena Park, North Shore. To completely understand the significance of Redding's commitment, you have to understand the context surrounding the recruitment. Redding's recruitment occurred just 2 years after another 5-star defensive end, David Warren, bypassed the Longhorns in favor of Florida State. New Texas head coach Mack Brown was trying to put the finishing touches on a number 1 ranked recruiting class, but he had to overcome the stigma that great defensive players didn't go to Texas and that the Longhorns couldn't go into the Houston area and land a truly elite player that didn't play his football in the suburbs. It wasn't going to be easy for the Longhorns, as Redding's top 3 included Colorado and Arizona, with the Wildcats having a big edge with Corey's brother Chris already in the Arizona program, which had his mom wanting both players to play their college careers together. Colorado was actually viewed as a potential party spoiler, but while Redding was on his official visit to Boulder, CU head coach Rick Neuheisel took the Washington job. And that basically eliminated the Buffs. That left Arizona and Texas to duke it out. And when push came to shove, Redding couldn't leave the Lone Star State. Moments before he announced his decision, Redding informed his mom that he was selecting the Longhorns. He told her, quote, "I'm a Texas boy. I want to go to college in Texas, marry a Texas woman, and have Texas babies," while she broke down in tears at the news. Moments later, he told the world the news.
Corey Redding, in 1998-99 season, will be attending the University of Texas.
Redding's commitment sent shockwaves throughout the recruiting landscape as Mack Brown's dominance in recruiting in Texas began that day and rarely slowed down for the next decade and a half. The Longhorns finished with the number 1 overall recruiting class in 1999, with the USA Today's Defensive Player of the Year representing the cherry on top of a very tasty sundae.
Spent time with him and myself, and I was like, I want you to put it on my mind the next morning when I wake up. When I woke up, my hands was holding up that hook and sign.
My man said he want to make Texas babies. That's a dedication to Texas, if there ever was a dedication. Hey, by the way, yeah, get your buy or sell questions in the chat right now. Go ahead and get those things going in there. So you got buy or sell. I've got your answers. Again, in about the next 20-ish or so minutes, Clarence Hill for the Fort Worth Star-Telegram is going to be here. A Longhorn fan, a UT man. He will be here to kind of talk about his experiences going to the game as a fan, on Saturday. And of course, I asked him a couple little Cowboys questions. Dak Prescott, I have him in a 2-quarterback fantasy football league. He scored 6 points for me. Thank goodness I have Patrick Mahomes, but dang, 60 points, 40 points, 6 points from him. That hurt. Okay, let's get back to the subject at hand. So I talked about guys who they've developed, the Najee Barons of the world, like who you see at where he's at. But there's another thing that this Pete K and his staff deserve a lot of credit for. And it becomes a lifeline of everything that you do within the program. And that's recruiting. Because it's really easy to be an offensive guy. Think about the Lincoln Riley years for a second. Really easy for every offensive player standout to go to Lincoln Riley, right? And we saw that. We saw the top quarterbacks going there. We saw the top receivers going there. They were able to get a lot of good offensive linemen that were there. Like, if you're an offensive person, yes, that's where you wanted to be. You wanted to go to OU. But if you were a top defensive player, ain't really where you wanted to go, right? You didn't want that smoke. And that's when, for a while, Oklahoma defense was just not good. Because, again, getting the top offensive guys, great. I absolutely want to play there. Top defensive guys, why would I want to play there? I ain't trying to get into no shootout. And so when you look at Sarkisian, and one of the things you got to give him credit for, and you also got to give Pete K credit for as well, and the entire defensive staff, it would be real easy to attract the offensive guys. But the thing about Texas that's different than what OU was able to establish, and the thing that should be able to give them staying power when it's all said and done, the reason why I don't think this is a flash in the pan, the reason why I don't think this will be like TCU last year, right? Where they just caught lightning in a bottle and it'll never happen again in our lifetime, right? That was TCU, because TCU didn't build a foundation that would have any kind of sustainable success. TCU was able to get by with a program, but there was nothing on Sonny Dykes' resume that you ever said to yourself, this is what Sonny Dykes does. You never was like, yo, when Sonny comes in here, this is what he's not. It was no Urban Meyer where you say, all right, when Urban comes in here, you expect this. Not even close. The thing that Stark has done has been extremely impressive is that he's laid a foundation and he's got the top offensive players. But the thing is, they're getting the top defensive players. And that's why I'm telling you this thing's going to have staying power. That's why I'm like, oh, okay, I see what you're doing. They're able to get a 5-star like Malik Muhammad. That happened. He's here contributing. How about a guy like Derek Williams out of the state of Louisiana? But they're able to bring in that guy who they project to be a future first-round pick at some point. I mean, Anthony Hill, he's already on his way to being a future first-round pick. Again, this is from a recruiting aspect for as that is concerned. Colton Vasek, Ethan Burks of the world, Leona LaFau, and we already see what he's able to do from a contribution standpoint, right? Look at what they're able to do recruiting-wise, bringing in 5-stars, blue chippers, people going to have immediate impacts. One of the best classes as far as immediate contributors is concerned. Like, they got dudes. Those dudes didn't just say, I just want to sign up to play for Steve Sarkisian. At the end of the day, they had to sit down in that living room with mama and sit down in the living room with dad and say, I'm going to play for this particular coordinator. That's who I am. That's what I'm going to be under. I'm going to be under this particular position coach. So, again, the Choates of the world, the Bo Davis of the world, the Terry Reynolds of the world, the Gideons of the world, like they're saying, I'm going to go to these guys. But the ultimate person that I'm putting my everything in, my hopes and dreams of going to the NFL, that person I'm looking at is Pete K. Can't be denied. And so that's why I was like, well, there were some questions when he got here. Like, man, can he recruit? Will people want to play for him? And I get some people are going to say there's going to be some people out there who are semantic and say, well, he's not really a primary recruiter on certain people. And some of the position guys are doing certain things. I get that. I understand that. And I understand that he may not be making every single phone call, but every single person is signing up to play for his defense. That's undeniable. I had to put that out there because, haters be hating. Like, well, you said this, but blah, 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 blah. Like, okay, come on. You know what I'm trying to say. Don't hate. As B-Rad would say, don't be hating. Don't have a play hating degree. And then we still got guys who are coming. We still got the Terrence Brooks of the world, and we got Billy Walton, Sadir Mitchell. Like, you still got guys coming that are going to be behind them. Here's another thing that they've done really well from a transfer portal standpoint is that they've been able to identify and find guys who come in and contribute to Jalen Catalons of the world, of course, the Ryan Rotts of the world, right? So they've been able to go from a recruiting standpoint and find guys as well. That's how impressive it's been. So when we have the conversation about this defense, and we have the conversation about people who are looking good and how well this defense played against Alabama. Yes, Anthony Hill deserves a lot of credit. Yes, Ethan Burke deserves a lot of credit. Yes, everybody on the defensive line deserves credit. Jalen Fords of the world and Catalans and Jaron Thompsons and all those people deserve credit for what was able to go down and all that. 100% the players deserve credit. But don't forget the architect. Don't forget the person who was being criticized in 2021, who people were asking in 2022, if this defense doesn't go good enough, could Gary Patterson take over halfway through the season? That was a question that people kept asking. Could Gary take over halfway in 2022? Because, he's just here and Pete K is just warming up a seat. Make sure you get him his flowers. Give him the credit that he deserves. And Pete, when you're asking, will he get a head coach job soon? Here's what I do know. Is that he's on track. Now, the great thing what Texas has done, really smart. They're paying him enough money where he don't have to leave. I think he's getting paid like 1.7. So what 1.7 does is that illuminates every middle tier non-Power 5 program for the most part. That's going to eliminate every. He's not going to USF. He can make more money here at Texas. Sorry, USF. But he's doing enough. And by the way, Luke, if you say Texas defense is nowhere near elite, I don't think you're looking. If they're ranked 28th in the country and they have 7 sacks over 2 games, I don't know what your version of elite is when they go on the road and they shut down Alabama, when they get the 3 and outs and they record 5 sacks against Alabama. I don't know what your version of elite is, but you have a different version of elite than I do, because whatever you think elite is, it's not. This is what elite looks like. Being able to get after the ball, creating turnovers, going on the road and doing something that no team really does, which is beat Alabama and to beat them down and have a better defense and a better defensive line, and better linebackers, and better cornerbacks, and better edge players, and better coaching. That, to shut down a guy like Jalen Monroe and make him look pedestrian, that's exactly what an elite defense is supposed to do. They are elite. And I don't know about PK getting a job anytime soon, but should he be on someone's radar? Sure. Offensive people are usually the ones that teams and organizations really go after the most or go after first. But nonetheless, he should be on someone's list at some point within the next couple of years. All right, Aaron, let's do this. Before we go to buy or sell, Specs. Let's go ahead and get a word from Specs, a 15-second word from Specs. It is time. It's midweek. You already drank up everything over the weekend. Like, you've got nothing left. You got nothing left because you have been celebrating all week long. Specs has got you covered. Let's hear from them what they got for us.
No matter what you're needing, Specs same-day delivery can save the day with our Specs app or online shopping. From world-class wines to hard-to-find spirits and craft beers, to gourmet foods, delicious snacks, and spectacular sweets. It's Specs. Cheers to savings.
Yeah, Luke, last thing I'm going to say, last debate I'm going to have on you. If you think the secondary isn't nasty, I don't know what you're looking at. What are you looking at? What do you expect? What do you expect nasty to look like? Like, you already had, what was it, Des Bryant look at Ryan Watts and say that's a future first round pick. You look at this secondary, and the majority of guys off the secondary are going to get drafted. Jahdae Barrett is going to get drafted. Ryan Watts is going to get drafted. Jaron Thompson is probably going to get drafted. Like, keep going down the list. Derek Williams will get drafted. Malik Muhammad is going to get drafted. All these guys are future draft picks. Like, I named off 5 easily, 6 easily that are future draft picks. So, Luke, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, nasty, they've got the turnovers. They got the picks. They're doing all the things that they need to do. So, I would. You and I just got to agree to disagree, and then we'll go from there. It's all respect, it's all love, not hostility. But I think you're wrong if you try to say this defense is not elite. Let's do buy or sell. Let us get into one of the fun portions of the show where you have an opportunity to ask me questions, and I have the opportunity to give you answers. That's what I'm here for. Every single day, 5 days a week. What often happens with these buy or sell things, there's certain things, like I have so many things in my head, and someone asks me something, and then it'll extract something that I stored 2 weeks ago, and then actually came back in, and then kind of went from there. Luke, if you say Alabama's multiple draft picks and their defense isn't elite pick, draft picks mean nothing. Okay, Luke. All right, you're right. This defense is trash. Gotcha. Soto 806. If Texas starts with the ball, they will score. Wait. If Texas starts with the ball, they will score first play of the drive. You talk about every Soto? You talk about like every drive? I don't know about that. I mean, I wouldn't sell. I think it's a hard thing to do, to score in the first drive and first play of every drive. I don't know about that. So that's okay. Aaron's trying to help me out with here because he goes to TD first play of the game is the question. I think you're asking me if Texas starts off, will they score on the first drive of every game? Like, I don't really know. I don't really know about that. So I'm gonna sell on that because it's just hard to do. So I'm gonna sell on that. I'm not quite sure the wording on that, Soto, by the way. So it's the wording is throwing me off. If you want to reword that for me and get it to me, I think I could answer it a little bit better. But the wording just kind of threw me off a little bit. And if you could do that, that'd be great. Okay, here we go. Here's the rewording. Texas scores first play of their drive on Saturday. Buy or sell. Whoo! That's so much better than what I got before, Soto. I didn't know what the hell. I was like, man, I know I'm getting older. And I know I had a couple of drinks last night, but I felt good. I went on a walk. Like, I don't feel like I'm hungover or drunk, but I sure can't read right now. Whew. Thank you. We are so much better. Yeah, I'll buy on that. Like, I don't know how good Wisconsin really is going to be on the road, 25-point dog. So, yeah, I'm going to buy on Texas being able to go and score, on most of their drives. But, yeah, I think they come out. I think they got something that Sark ends up scripting that he feels really good about, an area of weakness that they go ahead and try to attack. So, yeah, I will absolutely buy that one. So, yes, they will buy on that. But, is he saying first play or first drive? First play? Oh, my God. Come on, man. Sell. First play? No setup? You just expected them to just go in deep? No, I'm not going to go first play. First drive? Yes. First play? No, I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to sell on that, Soto. Soto, you just threw me off. I'm not going to lie. You just threw me off. Between Luke's foolishness in the chat and then you threw this question in me, between somebody looking at this Texas defense and saying they're not elite, and because they're not elite because they have draft picks. Anybody can have draft picks. First of all, outside of Kool-Aid, tell me how many other guys off that defense are getting drafted. I didn't see it. I didn't really see Kool-Aid, to be honest with you, for just being quite a buck, but he will get drafted. But nonetheless, between that and then the wording of the first question, I just got to get this thing back. I just got to get back recentered. Get some woosah, some road products, some specs, some something. A little something. C. Jones in the house. Good morning to you, C. Jones. Hope all is well. Buy or sell. OU and Kansas are the two biggest threats remaining on the Texas schedule. OU still sucks. Hook 'em. I would sell on that because I still think Kansas State is a threat. So that's, if you're saying the two, and I know you're asking me the two biggest threats, it's a toss up for me between OU and Kansas State at this moment. I'll put Kansas for sure because having a mobile quarterback who can throw, because Jalen Monroe really wasn't that great of a thrower, wasn't that great of a passer of the ball. So I'm like, I'm a little sketch on him. No, Jalen Daniels could throw. I know they got some offense that is there. They're decent on defense. So I know I got Kansas in there, which is crazy. But, hey, we got to adjust, man. Like, things change. It is what it is. So, for me, the second one's going to either be OU or Kansas State. I'll buy. You know what, C. Jones, why I'll buy on it? Just because rivalry games are weird. I'll buy on it for that as my tiebreaker. Those games are weird. And so you just never know. Again, we go back to, man, Texas, with Charlie Strong, went and beat an Oklahoma team. So because of that, like, I would go ahead and say, yeah, I'll buy on that. I still think Kansas State is a little bit of a dangerous team that's out there, that's lingering. But if you say the two most, that would be it. Texas Tech is definitely off the list for me at this moment. They would have to really get hot for that to change. So that, yeah, good question, C. Joe. Had to talk it out, but here we go. It's all good. SEC Matt is in the house. Good morning to you, SEC Matt. You're doing good. Buy or sell? Texas sweeps Big 12 offensive / defensive players of the year and coach of the year. Ooh. I mean, today I can buy on that. I can buy on Quinn being the offensive player of the year. I can definitely buy on Sark being coach of the year. Defensive player of the year. I mean, Jalen Ford's the guy he's the guy to beat going into this one. He's the guy to beat because he's the guy that was the Big 12 preseason defensive player of the year, right? So he's the guy to beat that has to get knocked off the throne. He already has one interception in 2 games. Darn near had a second one, darn near, and it just goes off his hands. Guy makes it just a miracle catch. So he's around the ball. He's got a knack for the ball. So he ends up being the guy. I can't think of anybody else on the defense that I think, it's a potential. I mean, Anthony Hill could be freshman of the year. Golly, could you imagine? Could you imagine your Mark just sitting in the office, just knocking stuff over, just throwing papers, knocking over everything, just kicking. Yorma's going to be that person that comes home. He's like kicking the dog, slapping the baby. Like, that's how upset he's going to be if that kind of sweep happens. But it's possible. I can sell that possibility. I can absolutely sell that possibility of that happening. Give me a couple more. DJ Bevo, net 910. What area code is 910? What is that? Worthy and Sanders, you guys in your burner accounts, man. You try not to get in trouble with you guys with your burner account. I know burner accounts when I see them, the numbers. But now I know this is Bevo net 910. Worthy and Sanders combined for 1,000 yards receiving. I might buy on that one, actually, Bevo net. When to come to think of it, I've talked that one out loud. Sanders is. I mean, it's funny. We all talk about like A.D. Mitchell. Everyone's talking about A.D. Mitchell being the second leading receiver on this team. Sanders is going to be really high up there because the way he's working and operating within the middle of the field, he's doing such a fantastic job. And then the yards after the catch, that yak is what's really putting him above. The first of all, he sheds that first tackler, and then that yak afterwards. So I'll buy on it. If I had to buy, I'm not going to put a lot down on that buy, but I will definitely buy on the 2,000, because especially if Worthy gets to that 1,200 mark, then he only needs to be around that 800 mark, right? So it's not that unreasonable to say that can happen. I like the question, Bevo. I like the question. So I will absolutely buy on that one. Give me a couple more. Give me about a couple more. Clarence Hill sitting in the background watching. Money B, my homie. What's going on, Money? It's good to see you as well. Money, you didn't ask me. Where's my questions, Money? You asked me a football question. You've been asking me about all these women comparisons. You didn't give me a Holly Berry comparison today. You didn't give me, because no one's not Holly off of it. And you didn't give me that. You asked me a football question, though, Money. Okay, that's fine. We'll go for it. I need my other question, though. But let's go. Money B. The team/staff won't let the rat poison/Bama game praise impact their focus on Wyoming. Well, it should be a buy. I mean, they haven't accomplished anything. They haven't won anything. So it is what it is. Like beating Bama's great. Okay. It's a great accomplishment. It's a great moment. But what does that mean? Like, at the end of the day, if you lose 2 conference games, no one will care about what the Bama victory looked like. It'll just be a footnote when it's all said and done. You lose 3 conference games, it'll be just an embarrassment when it's all said and done. No, you still got to go out and you still got to do your part. So it was great. It's a great win, but it won't mean anything at the end of the season if Texas doesn't achieve their full potential of getting to the Big 12 championship game and then winning that thing ultimately. So no, I don't think they're going to let it. And if they think, that's one of the things I'm going to get to a little bit later in the show. People have talked about, well, how do you handle success, and what do you tell the young folks? And my point is, what success? Like, this team hasn't achieved anything. They haven't achieved enough for anyone to put their feet up. Like, there's still much more work to be done. The majority of these guys weren't here in 2018 for that Sugar Bowl. They don't know anything about that. This is all brand new stuff. And so, no, I think more so the staff is going to make sure that doesn't happen, and they're going to make sure that goes in from a mental standpoint. Last one, we'll do it. Then we'll do a break and bring in Clarence. Big Rich, good morning to you. I'm so sorry. You had a great idea, Big Rich. I'm not going to lie. You had a fantastic idea. It just didn't work out. But thank you for asking anyway. Buy or sell. Start with keeping vanilla-ish against the next 2 opponents, so OU doesn't have more film on Texas. He has more up his sleeves than what he did in Bama. Sell, as far as that is concerned. He's got so much up his sleeve. His playbook is so big. His playbook is so extensive. He doesn't have to. Now, he's not going to have to unload his playbook against the next couple of teams. But to say he's saving anything for OU, no. Texas, and just keep it a buck. And we just keep it. Texas is better than OU. If Texas plays their A game and OU plays their A game, OU loses. It's just that simple. OU doesn't have another level in them where you say they can hit this. Texas has a level in them where they can go into Alabama and beat that team. OU doesn't have a level in them where they can go into Alabama and beat that team. That's not who they are. If Texas plays their A game, OU doesn't stand a chance. So there's no need to hold anything back and get ready for OU. He's got certain things. He's got certain wrinkles, certain things that he'll go ahead and unveil versus Oklahoma. But saving anything for OU, no. They're better than that team. So there's no need to save anything. They can put it out there on paper. OU can't stop Texas if they're on their thing. All right, let's do this. Let's do a quick break. We'll come back. The main man, Big Bro himself, Clarence Hill, is going to be in. I'm going to talk to him about everything about his experiences in Tuscaloosa as a fan, and how he was yelling and screaming for his Longhorns. And then after that, I'll talk to him a little bit about the Cowboys. Dak Prescott giving me 6 points in fantasy. Golly, come on, 6 points in fantasy football? Like, you won 40-0. I mean, but it killed my fantasy team. I'm happy for the win, but really unhappy about the fantasy results. The defense scores 35 in fantasy football, so go figure that. All right, I'll be right back.
This Orangebloods recruiting flashback takes a look at arguably the most high-profile recruitment in the history of the Texas football program, at least until Arch Manning came along. Yes, I'm talking about former Texas quarterback Chris Sims, who was the nation's #1 ranked prospect when he came out of New Jersey in 1999. Sims took a look around all over the nation early in his recruitment, visiting the likes of Ohio State and Penn State, before eventually setting on his top two. The two UTs, Texas and Tennessee, were his two finalists. After taking an official visit to Austin in the fall of 1998, the Longhorns appeared to be poised to land Sims, which partly helped steer Eli Manning, who also visited Texas in the fall of 1998, to Ole Miss. Yet, when Sims announced his decision on December 15th on the MSG network, he picked the Vols over the Longhorns. Mack Brown later admitted that the Texas coaching staff was shocked by the news. Quote, "I'm proud to be a Vol, and it's a good place for me," Sims said upon his announcement. "I'm a big fan of Coach Fulmer, and I think it fits me right. I feel so relieved, and I can finally get back to being a high schooler and enjoying myself." Yet, the truth of the matter is that Sims wasn't really relieved about the decision, and word got around quickly that he was wavering on his commitment to the Vols almost as soon as he made the announcement. I can remember talking to a Texas source on January 1st of 1999, just before the Longhorns played Mississippi State in the Cotton Bowl, that the Longhorns were going to flip Sims away from Tennessee. A few days following the New Year's Bowl game, Sims called Texas assistant coach Tim Brewster to tell him that he was having second thoughts. Less than 3 weeks later, Sims sat down with his parents, Diana and Phil, you might have heard of him, to reevaluate the decision. The next day, he called Tennessee head coach Phil Fulmer to deliver the news. Sims said, quote, "The hardest thing I ever did in my life. The first thing he said to me was, 'Chris, I'm down here in Alabama recruiting you the best receiver in the country,' end quote." One day later, Sims made things official by flipping his commitment to the Longhorns, which helped cement a #1 overall recruiting class for Brown and his coaching staff. It proved to be a game changer for the Longhorns, as evidenced by the commitment of the big three wide receivers in the following recruiting class: B.J. Johnson, Roy Williams, and Sloan Thomas, as well as paving the way for Cedric Benson's commitment to the Longhorns in the 2001 recruiting class. Ultimately, it was one of the great recruiting moments in the history of the Texas football program.
All right, let's go to the Speakeasy Lounge and bring in my main man, Clarence, the OG Hill. What up, OG? How are you doing today?
I'm well, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. It's a nice Wednesday morning out here. The temperature is lovely. Texas fans are happy. Cowboys fans are happy. I mean, it's LG over here on my end. So thank you, and thank you for asking.
And I've had a good weekend. I had a good night last night. I was hanging out with some Hall of Famers last night.
Were you?
Eric Dickerson, Lawrence. Yeah, Eric Dickerson, Lawrence Taylor. Okay, hanging out. Marcus Allen. We all having drinks at the Cowboys Club at a Charles Haley event. It was a good evening. Just talking sports and talking non-sufficient for work stuff.
All right. I love Cowboys. I'll get to that in a second, but I want to get to your passion. The thing is, because it's hard to be a sports fan when you can't be a fan of the team you cover, right? And so
you're not supposed to be.
You're not supposed. Well,
too many people are these days.
Yeah, times have changed, Clarence. Times have absolutely changed. Back in the day, you weren't supposed to be. You had to find another outlet, right? Yours is UT, and so you're a UT guy. You went to UT. You are a Longhorn fan. We always see you on Twitter talk about your Longhorns, and you made the journey up to Tuscaloosa. So give the fans who maybe didn't get an opportunity to go to Tuscaloosa, tell them what that experience was like for you and give them maybe some like behind the scenes of what you were able to see from an environmental standpoint, and we'll talk a little specifics about the game.
Yeah, let me start with this. You're right. I grew up a Cowboys fan. But once I start covering the Cowboys, you certainly see where the sausage is made. When people don't like to see you coming and try to prevent you from doing your work, it kind of desensitizes you from all of that. And so my passion in sports, I don't have an NBA team really. I'm a Laker hater on Twitter. Think so dead. Sure. I don't really have a baseball team, but I love sports, and my passion is Texas, all Texas sports. And so that's my outlet. And so, I'm hard on Texas. I used to cover Texas for Daily Texan. And I remember, David McWilliams said, "Why did you come here?" Because of the stories I used to write for Daily Texan, because, breaking stories on suspensions and different things like that. So I'm not totally biased. I try to do the truth, but yeah, my passion is Texas football. And one thing to covering the Cowboys, as long as I did not go to the national championship games because I was working. I did not take a time off from work to go to the 2005 or 2009 championship games. And now that my kids are out of school, I said, listen, this was an opportunity to go to Alabama. I bought my tickets. I was headed to New York the next day because the Cowboys had the season open in New York. I'm going to make the trip to T-Town, and enjoy this game. And what a scene, what an experience. I really enjoyed the pageantry, just the layout, everything of Alabama football. The people, the older fans were great. The younger fans, they were the students, they were, as you've seen some of the stuff on video, they may not have been as nice, but the older fans were great. I got treated with great hospitality. Went to a couple of tailgates, different things. Just being in the stadium, in that scene, it was wonderful, man. It was a good experience. And now I got to go to Georgia. I got to find a way to Georgia. I got to find a way to Tennessee when UT play UT. I got to go to Ole Miss at some point. Of course, you got to do all that stuff. But this was a great experience.
Clarence, when it was all said and done, how impressed were you with Texas? Because I was trying to explain to everyone, I said at every timeout, every break, it was like a concert in there, right?
Oh, yeah.
Every time there's a break, it's like, boom, there's someone's grabbing a microphone, the lights are going on and off, they're singing. They had the loudest sound system I think I've ever heard out of just even pro stadiums. I've never heard sound systems that good. But yet Texas doesn't jump off sides one time. They don't have the mental errors. In that atmosphere, how impressed were you with what they were able to do?
I'm glad you brought that up, because first of all, the game day experience was like nothing I've ever seen. And I haven't been to a lot of college stadiums just because I work a lot and I sit on TV. But I've been to Austin, been to different places, and that game, been to obviously TCU and local. That game day experience, what they were doing. I was at the Giants game the next day, and their game day experience, Cowboys game day experience in the stadium, nothing like they were doing at Alabama with light shows and different things like that. The DJs, everybody on the field, and so it was interesting that the fourth quarter, and Texas had dominated the game and everything else, but fourth quarter Alabama took the lead, and the people went crazy. They woke it up. Okay, they were ready. Now Alabama's going to take over. And as a Texas fan, based on our history, based on Sark's first year, with all the blown second half leads, you wonder, here we go again. What they going to do? Or with the crowd going crazy, Alabama back in it, and to watch Texas from that point on dominate the fourth quarter, so much so that 2-3 minutes left in the game, everybody's on the sideline having a good time, just waiting for the end and win by double digits. That showed a lot. That was a step for me. Even though they were better than Alabama, they've been better than a lot of teams, and they've, cratered late. Okay, you go back to their first year, we can go talk about that. But for them to do what they did and really assert themselves, that could have been, you had two drop touchdown passes early. That game could have been a blowout. It'd be even more so than it was. It was a double-digit win. It could have been even more than that. Texas was so impressive because they were more physical, they were more athletic. They certainly had the better quarterback, and clearly they had the better coaching staff. Certainly the better offensive game plan.
You cover a team that clearly established themselves as far as defense is concerned when you look at Texas and that defense, I know we can talk about the offense in a second and Xavier and Quinn and all those guys, but starting from a defensive standpoint, when you were able to see the defensive line getting that penetration, Ethan Berg coming off the edge, Anthony Hill having a lot of big plays, the secondary. Just talk to me about what you saw from a defensive standpoint and what stood out.
So impressed with the pass rush, because that's one thing they've lacked, because they've had big guys in the middle for the last couple of years. They've had, you had the two guys they had last year, the guys on the team. They've been stout up the middle, and you've seen that. They haven't had guys off the edge, not since Joseph Osai left, and they needed more than him. And then when Joseph Osai was here, it was just him. They got a number of guys that can get after the quarterback, and that's what was most impressive. And Anthony Hill, as a freshman, showed up like Derek Johnson as a freshman, and just was a man out there. And I just love to see him get the sack and throw the horns down. Because I was in the stands saying, throw the horns down. I was throughout the whole day. I get there, I got my Texas stuff on. Everybody, I said, start throwing the horns down and say, don't be OU. Be better than OU. You're Alabama. Say number one. Say you got that championship. Say we're number one. Why are you doing the horns down? Don't be OU. Be better than OU. They kept throwing the horns down. So I'm just singing I created my own song. Throw the horns down, throw the horns down. Yeah, I got a video on my Facebook page after the game. I'm walking out the stadium saying, throw the horns down, throw the horns down, throw the horns down. Keep on throwing the horns down. That's good. Hope that makes you feel good. Take this L.
Oh, you were definitely in a really good mood.
They were sick of me. Okay. They were sick of me. They were sick of me going out that stadium. They were sick of me.
Hey, but rightfully so, though. And so, the defense, does what it does over there. Offensive side of the ball, Clarence, for it's interesting. The offensive line doesn't play that well against Rice, and thinking to yourself like, oh gosh, well, they're struggling against Rice. What that thing's going to look like against, Alabama. And everything Sarkisian said when he said, those things are fixable. They seemingly fixed it. And for everything you've heard about that Alabama defense, it was all said and done. Once again, Quinn Ewers has a clean pocket. They end up being a non-factor.
Rice is pretty good, man. Rice just beat Houston. They just beat a Big 12 team. Yeah. My daughter's a cheerleader at Rice, okay? So we're up 28-0. I'm on my phone going crazy watching my daughter. Rice, no, seriously. Clearly, Rice is better than what we thought. See, our whole process after the Rice game was they just beat Rice 37-10. First of all, they didn't cover. Number one. Okay, let's beat Rice 37-10. Why are they struggling against Rice? And yeah, they did have some issues that were fixable, but that Rice team is not the dregs of earth that we thought they were, clearly by the showing against Houston. But yeah, they were fixable. But the offensive line, so impressed with the clean pocket. But you watch the videos after the game and you see the nastiness. You see the pancakes. You see them bullying Alabama's defensive players. After the play, Hudson is knocking the kid down and jumping on him, and none of the Alabama players go over there to help him or whatever. Help. I mean, Texas were bullies. The offensive line bullied Alabama. Who thought that was? I was talking to George Teague, and I have a show in Dallas, and he is so upset. The Alabama former players are so mad the way Texas bullied them and danced on their field and did things like that, and they got no pushback from the Alabama players.
Well, I mean, sometimes you get punched in the mouth. You just tell yourself like you got to cover up, So some people fight back, some people cover up, and that's what happens. So, your thoughts on Quinn? He enters this game with people have question marks, about him. What's he going to do? What so on and so forth. He goes in, no interceptions, right? Which is the best thing to happen. High QBR, effective. Throws a great deep ball. That deep ball is there. Your thoughts on Quinn and what you saw from him.
Yeah, just pulling back the cover. We talk daily, weekly, whatever else. And we talked before the game. We've talked all week. And I told you this was a legacy game for Quinn. That was my thought process. Because whatever he did last year, his best game was the first half of the Alabama game. And, first quarter Alabama game, but he had never put the whole thing together. And certainly you go back to Rice, and there were certainly questions about the deep ball, and there were valid questions. We know he has a nice arm. I've seen him throw the ball in high school, I'm from Dallas. I've seen him in high school, seen the videos when he was recruiting and throwing the ball 60, 70, 80 yards down the field. I never understood why he couldn't throw the deep ball in bounds, because Xavier Worthy is like Deshaun Jackson. He's always 5 yards behind somebody, and just throw the ball, give a guy a chance to make a play. And so those were questions. As athleticism, you look back at the Rice game and a couple, you're hard off his line, but a couple of those sacks against Rice were on him. They were on him. Get rid of the ball, be more athletic. Come on. There were things that he could have done to get rid of those sacks, but he showed up and had the game of his life. And this is what the fuss is about. Everybody talks about what the fuss. 5-star. You have the measurables. You got the arm. Put it together. How does it look on the field? And that's what you're looking for. All the quarterbacks that Texas have brought in, all the high-profile quarterbacks, going back to all of that other stuff. This is the prototypical, the size, the arm, prototypical quarterback. And you love Sam, but Sam was never prototypical. He was just a gamer, and because he could run and do some things like that when things break down. But this guy is going comparison to Phil Sims or Chris Sims was the prototype. Big, tall, 5-star, can throw the ball a mile, and this is what you were looking for. And now he needs to continue to build off that. But that's what a first-round pick looks like. That's what a first-round pick quarterback looks like.
All right. So as a Texas fan, Clarence, it's always been these moments when Texas's back has always been like the joke, right? And that's always been the running joke. It's when people say it's sarcasm, right? Do you allow yourself to believe that this is kind of the turning point? Do you feel like, because I'll tell you my thing is I feel like the foundation has been set. It has been a lot of good foundational pieces that have been put in place in order for Texas to maintain the success. But do you allow yourself to believe, okay, this thing can really take off? Or do you got PTSD? And do you say to yourself, like, I don't know?
Well, just like I was talking about the fourth quarter, because of PTSD. And I was like, okay, great game, but now Alabama's taking the lead. We gave a big pass, taking the lead. What's going to happen? And you don't know because of the history, until you put it together. And so there's some PTSD there. I was talking to my friend Mac Engel, big KU guy. I said, it'd be just like Texas to beat Alabama and lose to Kansas at home. And I'm going to tell you, that Kansas quarterback is good. That Kansas team is explosive, okay? And then they did beat Texas at home a couple of years ago. So, it's not like it's going to be a cakewalk to the OU game. That Kansas team is going to come in confident and believing they can beat Texas. And that quarterback, Daniels, is so much better than the Alabama quarterback. So don't sleep on them. But, yeah, I mean, somebody was asking earlier about them eating the cheese. And the thing that Texas has not handled well going back to 2009, when they've done something, is handle success and build on a success, and so that's what they have to show. We've talked about, I didn't like Quinn smoking a cigar after the game. I didn't, because, that's kind of channeling Joe Burrow, who smoked a cigar after winning that championship. Texas not winning that championship on Saturday. They beat a overrated Alabama team. It was a big moment. Enjoy it, but let's keep it where it is. They've accomplished nothing. None of their goals of the season has been accomplished. No conference title has been won. No BCS or not BCS CFP, has been achieved. So they've accomplished nothing. So yeah, enjoy it. I sent Churchard Choice, former Cowboys running back. I said, man, go do like Bill Parcells. Find some rat traps and put in everybody's locker. Get some rat traps. Tell them don't eat the cheese. It's poison. Do not stay focused. I said, go get some rat traps like Bill Parcells used to do and put in everybody's locker, because everybody's feeling good. Everybody's feeling you're getting all this love, and you're finally arrived and you're feeling good. And you think you've done something, but you've accomplished nothing. Stay focused, because this is just the beginning. This is the beginning of the journey. But I was talking to Mike McCarthy about the Cowboys game, and he was talking about the defense, and we'll get to the Cowboys soon. But he said, yeah, we're good, but this has been building. And I would say the same thing about Texas. This has been building. So they're not back. They've arrived. this has been building.
Yeah. Clarence Hill, Fort Worth Star Telegram, the OG as relates to Texas sports here in the great state of Texas. So I will have to ask about the Cowboys. That was a hell of a defensive performance that we saw on Saturday or on Sunday. It's one of those things I asked you is, did you see certain things coming as relates to the Longhorns? Did you see that kind of defensive dominance coming as relates to the Cowboys?
I did. I did see the defense dominance. I mean, the defense has been smothering off as a training camp every day, every freaking day. And they've done it for the last 2 years. But to add Stephon Gilmore to Trevon Diggs, and Gilmore is that bad boy. If you watch that game, and he did the same thing. I mean, he is so smart. He runs the routes with the receivers. He covered the tight end, and everybody brought the tight. And that was not a bad Giants team. Remember, that was a Giants team that made the playoffs last year, that beat the Vikings on the road. They came back, gave the quarterback $40 million. They went and signed, traded for the tight end, or signed a tight end from the Raiders, who's one of the best tight ends in football, one of the most athletic tight ends in football, to add to that team. They had hopes of taking the next step. And the Cowboys just shut them down. And that defense was amazing. And again, Micah Parsons set the tone. He is the best defensive player in football, hands down. He should win Defensive Player of the Year. But it's not just Micah. That defensive line comes at you in ways. That secondary is deep and talented as any in the league. Dan Quinn is a magician as a defense coordinator, how he employs his players and uses them. That defense, when everybody talks about the Cowboys, that can't do it, and that it's the defense. The defense is what is going to set the tone for this team. And you can say what you want about San Francisco. San Francisco's been in the NFC Championship game the past 2 seasons with 2 different quarterbacks. One they got rid of, Garoppolo. They tried to make Trey Lance a starter. They fell into Purdy last year. It wasn't the quarterbacks. It was about their defense. Their defense is what made them contenders and got them to the NFC Championship game the past 2 years. And if the Cowboys' defense the same way is going to be the key for them this year.
Can you? I mean, I'll be honest with you. I'm curious in your opinion, Clarence. Can you win it all with defense in today's NFL? I mean, you grew up with defense, Steelers, 85 Bears, like Giants. At some point, there were great defenses in the world. Can you do that in the era of these high flying offenses and what people got going on?
Well, first of all, Seattle did it. Tampa Bay did it. They were defensive-led football team recently. When they had Patrick Mahomes running in his high-powered offense, running backwards the whole game. I mean, we forget that. That was just a couple years ago. Yeah. That was a defensive-led football team. They had a pass rush. That had Patrick Mahomes running the other way. Okay, and certainly Legion of Boom with Tampa Bay, and that's Dan Quinn. But I think it's not like they're playing. It's not like it's the Ravens offense when you got Trent Dilfer, a quarterback that plays with one hand behind his back. Okay, so I think that yes, you can win with defense, but again, the Cowboys' offense under Dak Prescott the last 3 seasons has led to they can score. Okay, it's not like they have an offense that can't score, that can't make plays. And I know you fantasy football people are upset. That's why I don't play fantasy. I hate fantasy. I hate fantasy football. I hate fantasy football. I hate fantasy. Fantasy football has been since I was younger. I hate because you don't care about the game, you don't care about the team, you just care about your points. And so you look at that game, and there are people upset with the offense. What's wrong with that? They won 40-0. They won 40-0.
Because he gave someone 6 points that got
they
lost.
Won 40-0. Okay, and the thing about it is, the beautiful thing about it is, I think it was a perfect example on Monday night. The Cowboys did what they were supposed to. The defense is playing well. It's a rainstorm. Don't turn the ball over. You got scores on defense, scores on special teams. We're gonna try some things, but we ain't trying. They didn't use half of their playbook. They kept everything in their pocket because they didn't need to. The goal is to win the game. And if Josh Allen does the same thing after Aaron Rodgers gets hurt, they win that game on Monday night. But no, he wants to throw the ball over the park. He throws 3 picks in a horrible coverage. He has a fumble. That's the only reason why the Jets won, because of Josh Allen does not play the game they're asked to play. There's no way the Jets are scoring anything with that quarterback if you don't give them 3 interceptions and a fumble, and you win that game easy. But yet you're not playing the game you have to play that day, and so so don't worry about the Cowboys offense. Cowboys have explosive playmakers. You saw some different things with Brandon Cooks, who drew a 37-yard pass interference penalty, drew a penalty for illegal contact, drew a penalty for defense holding. He's a perfect complement to what they had with CeeDee Lamb. Tony Pollard looks fast and explosive. He's going to be fine. They're doing some different things with Turpin and Deuce Vaughn to get the ball into the playmakers' hands. I think
we saw the little man, we saw the Miller man doing his thing.
I think the thing about that was impressed upon Dak and the Cowboys, and one thing they've talked about all offseason was don't force big plays. Okay. You have playmakers. You have more speed on this team, on this offense you've had in a long time. Just get the ball in the playmakers' hands and let them do their thing.
One of the last things I'll ask you is just give me your thoughts on your Longhorns for the rest of the season, and then give me some thoughts on the Cowboys. I know it's only week 1 and there's a long time to go, but just give me some thoughts on what you're hoping or expecting. More not hoping, but what you're least expecting going forward.
Well, I mean, with the Longhorns, everything's on the table. I mean, all the things, all the dreams I don't know what Alabama looks like. I don't know how good USC. I know the defense is suspect, but everything's on the table for this Texas team, based on what you saw and based on the potential, because Texas is going to get better too. They haven't peaked yet. They're still trying to get the running game fit. There's still some chemistry that needs to be fixed with the receivers and everything else. And so they have room to improve. And so it's all out there. There's no reason why they should not be in the Big 12 championship game and be in the college football playoff. There's no reason they shouldn't be. And if they're not there, it's a disappointment. Let's be honest about it. Let's go and call it what it is. If they're not in the Big 12, if they're not in the college football playoffs, it's a disappointment. And I know this,
the playoffs? I mean, what about just getting to the Big 12 championship game?
You just said they're better than Oklahoma. Then I heard you earlier say they're better than Oklahoma.
They are better
okay,
than
so who's gonna beat them in the Big 12? If they win the Big 12, they're in the playoffs.
Okay. So all right.
I mean, right now they should be favored in every game on the schedule, shouldn't they be?
They should be. They should be. Yes.
Absolutely. Okay. So why not run the table? Run the table.
I'm just asking the fans.
Run the table. Run the table. Impress me. Okay. Impress me. Run the table.
Okay. All right. So you'll be disappointed if you run the table. What about 11-1?
Who you gonna be happy if they lose to?
You're not gonna be happy.
Who you gonna be happy if they lose to? Don't lose to TCU. Don't come to Fort Worth and lose TCU.
No. Well,
don't lose to Kansas.
No, that brings up
definitely don't lose the Tech.
No, they can't make the commissioner happy. Can't make the commissioner happy.
No, I mean, whatever, man. 11-1, take the next step, whatever, get to the college football. But I think all that's on the table. Obviously, you have to do it. I'm just, but all that's on the table for this team for sure. And as far as the Cowboys, the same thing. I mean, the Cowboys have a chance, with this injury to be 4-0 going to the showdown against San Francisco in October. Same weekend as old Texas OU. So I got some, I got some balls in the air because I got to get to San Francisco after the game. But they have a chance to be 4-0. But realistically, they have as good a shot as any team in the NFC to get to the Super Bowl. The Eagles, the 49ers, they're right there. Now, will they do it? Will they do it in the playoffs? That's the question, because they haven't done it. And I haven't, I've been covering the Cowboys since 1997. They got 4 playoff wins, And I'm not the jinx because I raised champions. My daughter's a state champion. My daughter's a state champion gymnast. Okay, they ain't about me. Okay, but they got 4 playoff wins on my ledger since I've been covering this team, and so they have to take that next step. But I do think they have the potential to do that. One thing that Mike McCarthy says that to break through in the playoffs, you have to repeatedly get there. The Cowboys have been 12-5 each of the past 2 years. They've got to the playoffs. It should not be a new experience for them. They should be able to be comfortable, and they have the team and the players to take the next step.
Clarence, and I'm imagining a world where Texas goes to the playoffs and the Cowboys go to the Super Bowl. I'm imagining a world where the state of Texas is on fire. Your job is way easier at that point. My job is easier. Yes, our jobs are easier when people.
You got to feed the beast, man. There's no days off. It's team no days off right now. Okay.
Well,
I got to feed the beast.
Off. What is that?
Exactly.
What is that?
Exactly.
I don't know what that is. I go to Mexico and still.
Exactly. No days off.
Okay.
And team no sleep this weekend because I had an adventure. I almost didn't get to New York because of the rain in New York. There was a ground stop. They just stopped all planes going to New York on Sunday. Like, I'm not going to make it to this game. But I did not tell my boss I was going to Alabama. My boss thinks I'm in New York, okay? I did not tell my boss, hey, I'm going to go to Alabama and I'm going to get there on game day. We all go before the game. I did not tell my boss I was in Alabama. So I get to the stadium about 30 minutes before kickoff. Wow. Because of the weather and the ground stop and everything else and the traffic and everything else. But what an amazing experience. What an amazing weekend. I enjoyed myself.
All right, Clarence Hill. I'll be seeing you this weekend, right? Is Black Homecoming weekend this weekend?
Yes, I am coming Friday night, but Saturday I'm going to see my daughter cheer at Rice.
Okay. All right, brother, man. I will see you. I'm
Saturday night. Come on. We're going to catch up.
All right, Clarence Hill from the Fort Worth Star Telegram. Tell them about how to find you, how to follow you, Clarence.
Follow me on Clarence Hill Jr. on Twitter. And, I tweet about everything. Longhorns, politics, Cowboys, whatever, you name it. I got opinions on it for sure. I'm Chill NFL on Instagram. And I'm Clarence Hill Jr. on Facebook for you old heads. I do talk Cowboys on Facebook.
Oh, the fact that you're still advertising your Facebook page shows how old you are. So.
Come on, man. I got engagement. It's all about engagement. I got lots of engagement on Facebook.
You got don't you have like a Facebook like Cowboys?
I got a fan page.
I got what year is this that you're just still doing this thing?
You should see should see the Cowboy fan. I do events and it's an easy way to advertise events.
Yeah. Well,
I do. That's what my audience is. my audience is older folks. But yeah, they come to my events. So if you're in Dallas, I do a Cowboys talk show every Thursday at Ella B's restaurant in Arlington. I got George Teague this week, and that was calculated because we're going to talk Texas Texas, Alabama. George Teague is upset. We're going to talk Texas, Alabama, but I do from 6 to 10, and we're game watching. I got cigars. I got a DJ, and we're talking Cowboys, Jets, and Texas, Alabama with George Teague, the defender.
Okay. Well, I got to get my main man. I'm going to connect you with El Presidente, El Toro. He's one of our one of the partners here. Lives out in the DFW area.
Yes.
And he also does predictions.
Eric sells DFW.
Yeah, Eric sells homes DFW.
I talked to him. I thought about getting on. He was doing private flights to Alabama. We
need to connect you. I need to connect you with Eric so you can get on one of his planes.
There you go.
Make your life a lot easier. You can thank me for that connect. I'll send you guys a group text after the show.
All right, man. Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Clarence Hill, the OG, the legendary Cowboys writer, Longhorns fan, everything, Mr. Texas, Mr. LA hater, the LA Laker hater that he is. That's all right. As a Braun fan, we're looking at season 20 and we're saying to ourselves, this our year. This our year. This is going to be our year no matter what Clarence says. He don't say nothing about those Mavericks when they struggle, though. But he always got something to say about Braun and the Lakers, but that's okay. He's the big bro. That it is. All right, let's do this. Let's do a quick break. When we come back, I'm going to get into my social media standouts, and then we'll do some more buy or sell, and then I've got a guest that's going to be in here, Ian McMackin. He's going to be here talking about Wyoming at the 10:20 hours. Everything you want to know about Wyoming, we're going to go ahead and do it. Are the haters still in the chat, in the Specs chat line? I know there's some OU haters. I've seen you guys piling in. Thank you for everything. I thank you guys. Listen, I always tell you, haters pay the bills just as well. So come on in. Go ahead and you can get some as well. I hope Luke is still around. And we can go ahead and finish our debate. Don't go anywhere. I got some social media standouts coming up next.
This Orangebloods recruiting flashback takes a look at a player that was the first commitment of the TCU class of 2020 and became the last signee of the Texas 2020 recruiting class, with a little stopover in Waco in between. That's right, Texas senior defensive back Jahdae Barron had one hell of a recruitment before eventually developing into one of the most important remaining players from a somewhat disastrous 2020 recruiting class. For those that might not remember, Barron finished as a mid 3-star prospect in the Rivals.com rankings while finishing 79th in the state and 72nd in the country as a cornerback. Should note for the record that I had Barron ranked as a 4-star prospect in my rankings and the number 30 overall prospect in the state. When we look at his recruitment, things really started to heat up following a junior day visit in February of 2019 to TCU and Gary Patterson. After visiting on the junior day in February, Barron committed just a couple of weeks later, citing that Patterson's track record of developing players was a big reason for his decision. Yet a little more than a month later, Barron backed out of his commitment to Patterson, primarily because his offer list started to take off shortly after his commitment, with the likes of Oklahoma State, Tennessee, and Arizona jumping into the mix. Before his decommitment, he actually took an unofficial visit to the 40 acres, although the Longhorns didn't offer. Fast forward to June 22nd, and Barron announced his commitment to Baylor. From that moment on, all the way through the rest of signing day, Barron was solid as a rock to the Bears, even in the aftermath of the departure of Baylor head coach Matt Rule. Things changed for Barron in April as he asked for Baylor to release him from his national letter of intent. Quote, "Thank you to the Baylor Nation for embracing me," he said on Twitter. "Today, I requested an official release from my NLI to Baylor and will begin looking for a new school to pursue my athletic dreams and career goals." 8 days later, Barron committed to Tom Herman's Texas Longhorns. Flipping Barron was a huge win for defensive backs coach Jay Valai, who had only been in Austin for a few months when he landed Barron. Barron was the 20th and final signee to a 2020 recruiting class that finished 16th in the nation. While Bijan Robinson is famously remembered as the headliner of the class, Barron was one of the 3 lowest rated prospects in the entire group, according to Rivals.com. Of the 2 players ranked lower than Barron, one of them was none other than All-America linebacker Jalen Ford.
What's up? What's up? Welcome back. Welcome back. Thank you to Clarence Hill for joining the show, and appreciate everything that he was breaking down for us in the next 20 minutes or so. Ian McMackin from, it's called Go Wyo Go, which is kind of cool. It's Go W-Y-O Go. I'm assuming that's a Wyoming saying of some sorts. But he's going to be here. He's obviously within the Rivals Network, and he's going to be able to kind of tell us a little bit more about Wyoming, what we need to know. We know they beat Tech. We know they beat Portland State. You didn't know they beat Portland State last week. for those who aren't on the Wyoming thing or who aren't big gamblers. So we're going to find out a little bit more about it. They have my attention because they beat Texas Tech. So now I'm like, ooh, what? Tell us a little bit more about them. And we'll get that there. And then thank you for there. So let's do this. Let's do a couple things. I'm going to get to my social media standouts. These are people who stand out on social media for good and bad. And then we still got some buy or sell that I want to make sure I get kind of knock out as well. So let's get into our social media standouts and have a little bit of fun here. Aaron, go ahead and put the first one up. All right. This is it. From Slander University, the Slander U. This says this is going from an iPhone 14 to an iPhone 15. I feel like there's a better comparison as relates to the phones, as relates to going from Kevin Sumlin to Jimbo Fisher, because Kevin Sumlin still has a better record, I believe, than Jimbo Fisher has, or somewhere in that vicinity. Is it more of a downgrade? Because you got to think that Kevin Sumlin was doing that before NIL. So that there's a better, who's got a better phone analogy for me? Is this a downgrade? Is this like going from I feel like it's almost going from like an iPhone 9 down to like an iPhone 6. I mean, it doesn't really, I don't know. Like, it's like an iPhone XR to iPhone 11. Like, maybe there's a little bit things that are better. I don't know. But I don't know. It has been a huge upgrade. Has not been a huge upgrade as relates to the go jump from Kevin. And I don't know. You would have to think, we think of Jimbo, we'd have to think of a phone that is really, really, really expensive, but somewhat useless at the same time. So what phone is an upgrade that's really, really expensive, but really, really useless? It's one of those phones. You guys go ahead and work that thing out for me. Pete says Herman is an Android, Sark's an iPhone 16. Do they even have the 16s out? Do they even got the because aren't they on 14s? Like, you are, wow, Droid to a 16. Shout out to the people who still have Droid phones. I hate you. Like, what world are you living in that you're still holding on to a Droid? You ruin all group chats. You ruin it. You ruin it. You people. That's right. You people. What people? You people. Let's do another one. Let's do another one of our social media standouts. Whoa, check this out. Sydney Carter from the University of Texas, the women's assistant women's basketball coach, had found her way. Looks like Drake found her way. He found his way into Austin for a concert this week. And Drake, if there's an attractive woman out there, we all know that Drake's going to find her. Like, if there is an attractive woman in the world, Drake is the man. Drizzy will be the man that seeks her out, and he found her. Now, here's the thing. I saw a video of Drake coming in, and he had a chance to visit with the girls' women's basketball team. So I saw him pop in there, and they got to take pictures and things to that effect. But she found a way, and there was other pictures too, where she found a way where she was at the concert, had some really good seats and things like that. Drake, Drizzy Drake. Drake is the absolute man there. He is absolute. He is it. Did you, Aaron? Do you know the Drake story about the hot sauce? Did you ever hear this story? So there's this story. You guys, it can be verified, right? So Drake gets with somebody, and he sleeps with her. And there's a he puts the condom in the trash can, right? So then he also puts some hot sauce within the condom, right, Aaron? So he puts some hot sauce in the condom. Well, apparently this woman goes to the bathroom and wants to get what's inside of the condom and insert it inside of her so she can have Drake's baby. The problem is Drake can put the hot sauce in there. So needless to say, she starts screaming as the story goes, because Drake he's a smart man. He's like, I already know. And he was able to then find out that you was trying to trick him. She got mad. I think she had wanted to sue, but I don't think she had any grounds for it. So that's Drizzy. That's Drake. So he was known as Hot Sauce on Twitter for a while because of that. That's what Drake does. Now, none of you other guys, you ain't worth that much money to be doing it, but Drake did it, and that's an actually true story. I wasn't there, but it was reported on. Hilarious story. Let's do another one. Let's do another social media shout out. Shout out to Drake. Shout out to Sydney as well. She's doing the damn thing. Living her best life. This one was an interesting one. I want you guys to think about this one. I want you guys to marinate on this one, because Hot Rod era is going. And by the way, you guys debating phones right now are hilarious in the chat over there in the Specs chat line. He goes, you have to wonder what Tommy and James Brockermeyer are thinking after choosing Alabama in a very public fashion over Texas and forgoing status as a third-generation Longhorns. Tommy's at unranked TCU, and James just lost to Texas. Neither start. Both could have been Longhorns. This is a hot rod era. That is a really fascinating question that he posed there, because this was part of the dominoes that kind of fell here at Texas as relates to getting rid of Tom Herman. Those two were part of the dominoes, like that, not being able to get Tommy and not being able to get James Brockermeyer, legacy guys, as Hot Rod points out. That would have been something. That would have been something that everybody would have been happy about. But when he didn't get them, that ends up being, you didn't get Quinn Ewers, you don't get the Brockermeyers. That was kind of it. That was it when it was all said and done. It's crazy to think what could have been. Now, life happens, right? And sometimes everything happens for a reason. And so sometimes things need to happen, though. So if they get the Brockermeyers, is Tom Herman still here? There's a possibility of that. If he gets Quinn Ewers, is Tom Herman still here? There's still a possibility of that. So, what would not have happened would have been up for the debate for a long period of time. But the question was, how did those guys feel? And at some point, they've got to feel like, you don't want to say you made a bad decision, but if you transfer from Alabama to TCU, you're admitting that the decision that you made wasn't the best one. If you're hanging around Alabama and you're not cracking it too deep, you got to admit the decision. And then they operated under the thought and the belief was that Texas wasn't going anywhere. And now Texas is going in a higher direction, and they could have been here. Maybe they come here as grad students. And maybe it's all said and done. When it's all said and done, maybe there's an opportunity for them to come here as grad students and at least be a part of it. If I'm them, I just get my diploma and see if I can come here as a transfer. Maybe, you don't want to have to be a walk-on, but something to that effect. But yeah, the reality check has to be really hard, and that's got to be a check that I'm sure they don't want to cash. But good luck to those young men in the future. I'm sure if they knew that now, what they knew that now, what they know then, or whatever I'm trying to say, knew then what they know now, maybe they make a different decision. But good luck to them. Let's keep going. Let's go with another one. Let's see another one. Stuart Mandel, check this out. Most watched college football games. This seems like something that Chad Hastings would like. This seems like one of those stats that Chad would be like, guess what, guys? Texas Bama, 8.76 million. That seems like if there ever was a Chad Hastings stat, this would be it. Texas Bama, most watched game over the weekend, 8.76 million. Be curious to see what that number looked like for the second half. Nebraska, Colorado, really close there, guys. 8.73 million. A&M versus Miami. What a drop off. That was the afternoon course portion of the slate. But A&M versus Miami at 4 million. Iowa versus Iowa State, 3.4 million. Would not have seen that one coming. Gonna be honest with you. Not seeing a lot of people just saying, man, I got to check out that Iowa State team. Unless there was a high amount of gamblers out in Vegas that just had an interest in the game. Like, hey, they may have some. Let's see what action they got on what teams. Like maybe it was that, UNLV Michigan at 3 million. The NC State game at 2.9, Oregon Tech at 2.6, Wisconsin Wazoo at 2.3, and Auburn Cal at 2.2. But boy, that has been, and Pete goes, got at 10.6. Thank you, Pete. 10.6 million in the fourth quarter versus Texas Bama. Thank you. I knew it had to be. And oh man, Adam brings up a great point. He goes, that's with that Spectrum debacle. Like what that number could have been without that whole Spectrum thing. That would have been even more interesting. But those are fantastic numbers. So you're right. Those numbers going to be great. Good observation, Adam. Thank you for that. Let's do another one. We've got like one more, two more. Okay. There's a good video. All right. So this is for all of you, Mike Torres, all you guys who are in shape. Tell me what went wrong here. Tell me what. By the way, the Incredible Hulk in the background is pretty darn hilarious. There's a lot of irony to that one. So apparently, dude's deciding that I guess he's going to max out here. Okay, there's a video of it, and there's actually like I think it's an Isley Brothers song that's playing in there. So he goes like, imagine fighting for your life with old school R&B on. And the whole thing is he's trying. This thing is on his neck, and he's trying to get it off of him, but there's a struggle bus going on because I guess he's maxed out. I guess it was his max day, and he realized what his max was. And here's the thing, like, I don't you guys, for the most of you guys who understand and lift weights, don't most of you guys understand that it's not really about doing those heavy weights? You know, it's supposed to be higher reps with lower weights. Isn't that what it's supposed to be? Right? You don't have to do like you're in jail. But so yes, dude, it's on his neck. Now, clearly he lived because it got posted online. But here's another reason why. Well, you need a spotter, and two, you probably don't need to be doing all that weight as well. But get a spotter if you're going to max out. Just get a spotter. Ask someone a spotter. He went through the effort of getting the phone. There's music playing. He did everything but get a spotter, and clearly did everything but get that weight up. That was too many Cadillacs on there for him. All right, we got two more. One more. All right, one more. Let's do one more. Oh man, this is near and dear to my heart. For the basketball fans out here, at some point, this thing is going to be voted on today. The NBA's competition committee has recommended stricter guidelines on resting players for national televised games and multiple stars together in the same games. The league's board of governors expected to vote Wednesday to pass the measures. Let me tell you something. That rule, whatever it is, cannot be passed soon enough. I think the NBA has done itself a great disservice with these resting of players, because let me tell you, as a person, my story, it goes like this. So my son, was a LeBron fan. I don't have over 100 likes. Oh man, please hit like. What's going on? I've got over 100. I usually get like 700. What's going on? Can y'all please hit like for me, please? So I took my son a couple of years ago. Decided I was gonna take him down to the San Antonio Spurs game. He's a Bron fan. And so I was going to take him to the Lakers. And then, of course, he's excited. He's got a Bron jersey on. And let me tell you, he was super excited. We had a great time. And I'm telling you, the Spurs did a great job. The Spurs did a great job. They did a good enough job where, I'll be honest with you, I thought to myself, like, you know what? Just bring my son back here just for a normal Spurs game. Like, this is kind of legit. But here's what happened. With the load management thing, LeBron decides he doesn't want to play. So here I did. I spent a couple of $100. I spent like $300 for each ticket. Over $300 for each ticket for us to look at LeBron in street clothes. My son's devastated. Like, he wants to see LeBron play. And so all we can do is see LeBron in timeouts go like this. And I told myself, and after that, I'm not buying NBA tickets again, because I don't want to buy tickets. And again, and the Spurs really weren't that great. I don't want to buy. So you know what I actually ended up doing about a week or so later? I took him to an Austin Spurs game right here in Cedar Park. And you know what? He had a blast, more of a blast than he would have than he had the Spurs game. He was on the Jumbotron or the TV with his brother. So they were dancing. He was able to catch a T-shirt. So he got a souvenir T-shirt. He was able to take a picture with the bull, right? So he was able to get that. Like, he had a blast, and it was cool for me. Tickets were cheaper. I was able to have my drinks. Like, it was, and then we had great seats. So it was amazing. So I'd rather do Austin Spurs things than anything else. In fact, Austin Spurs got my information. They always contact me about being a season ticket holder, but they never tell me how much I would have to pay. They always, I gotta call them back or email them back. I'm like, just tell me the price. I don't know. I don't know, but I don't know what will make that commitment. But so that's why. So hopefully, if the NBA can get rid of this thing and get rid of load management, all that kind of stuff, like absolutely would be. I would actually be more prone to go to more NBA games. But I'm not spending that kind of money to watch dudes just sit there. Like they just came to San Antonio to chill out. Like that, I'm not doing. I will not do that. And I've also wanted to see Bron like in Dallas also and go to like Mavs games. And I did go to a Mavs game last year, but I also, once again, I'm not paying to see celebrities that are going to be sitting on the sidelines. I just ain't it. But I'm also not going to spend $150 to $200 of tickets just to watch them play anybody either. So then there's that one as well. So I'll just do Austin Spurs for right now. Shout out to the Austin Spurs. Feel free to hook your boy up. Be a partner, and you and I can work together, and we'll promote it. We'll have drinking nights at the Austin Spurs games if you guys want it. All right, let's do some more buy or sell. I got a guest that's coming in a little bit, so let's do some more buy or sell questions. I got Ian. He did confirm, but Ian McMackin will be here from Go. I think that's how it's called. It sounds like it. Go, YL, go. Pete Brandt is in the house. Texas will have a letdown in the first quarter against Wyoming. I'm going to sell on that one. I don't think they're going to come in like that. I think they're really focused. I really think that they've got their head screwed on right as relates to this game. So, Pete, I'm not expecting that. I don't think there's going to be a set letdown in the first quarter. I don't think this team is, Pete, it would be so disappointing, Pete, if this team had some sort of letdown, considering the way Clarence and I were just talking about, like they haven't accomplished enough to walk into any game and think to themselves, we've arrived. That's not what they've done. So no, dude, I would reject the thought of a letdown. And if they do have one, God help them all, because they clearly have not been listening. Who else we got? What else we got from a buy or sell standpoint? Tyler in the house. Goes, the running game gets going as the season progresses and Sarks keeps his 1,000-yard rusher streak alive. And by who's the back with 1,000 yards? By C.J. Baxter. So that's what it looks like for me. I think C.J. Baxter is going to be the person that inevitably gets hot, inevitably warms up. I think he'll get there. You know, I think the first week was kind of a weird week. Last week is really hard for anyone to run against Bama. But I think as C.J. gets settled in, and this offense gets settled in, I think that'll happen. But I will tell you this. This is more praise for Quinn. More praise for Quinn, because at the end of the day, Texas is doing this, and they're doing it without a really dominant run game. Without that, they're doing it because of Quinn, at the hands of Quinn. So that becomes the interesting part, and the part that deserves a lot of praise for him. So Tyler, I'm still going to buy it. I still think it's going to happen. And here's Tyler, by the way. What you and I have to decide when it comes to the 1,000-yard streak, are we going to include postseason in there, or we're just talking regular season? Right? That becomes an important part of it, because if it's a 1,000-yard rusher and that it took the bowl game for it to happen, does that count in your book or not? Because if it does, then we'll go from there. So let's just determine the parameters of that one. Keep going. We got some more. We got some old ones. I think we had some old ones from earlier. Buck Wild was in the house. See McGuire. It just makes me laugh. Joe McGuire is really feeling the pressure now after Yormer's comment and going 0-2. The Texas game is scaring him right now. I'm going to sell on that because he's got the Micah Hudson commitment right now. And because he's got the Micah Hudson commitment, that changes a lot of things. You know, it's hard to be mad at a guy when you're saying when he's bringing in Micah Hudson. Now, they got to keep winning in order to keep Micah. That's just my belief. I mean, if you're Micah, if Tech finishes 5-7, why would you mess with it? If they finish 6-6, why would you mess with it? That's just my thoughts. He could be built differently. It may not matter to him. He may be a kid that comes in and says, doesn't matter. At the end of the day, I'll come there. I'll revitalize it. I can be the savior of the program, so on and so forth. And so be it. But if he wants to, but I don't know if he's feeling a lot of pressure. I think he's feeling pressure to win. More so than anything else, I don't think he's thinking about Texas. I think he's feeling like he has to win. I think that's the big thing for him, more so than the end of the year and whatever that thing is. He's got to get a dub very soon and get some momentum going. So let's do maybe 2 more, and then we'll do a quick break. Blake Winfrey says, buy or sell? Jaden Blue transfers after the season. I mean, I'm going to sell on that at this moment. I'm not 100% sold on the sell. I'll be honest with you. So here's what I'm selling. What I don't know, and then what I have to find out is I got to find out the mental makeup of what Jaden Blue is. And so that's what, Blake, you got to give me an opportunity I got to get to know, like, okay, is he a guy that says I got to play, so on and so forth? They see a Roshan Johnson where he's okay with his role. Like, that is the thing I don't know about Jaden Blue. So I'm going to sell on that one for right now. But it's a good question. All right, let's do what you got. One more for me. Let's do one more. Pete, I see yours as well. If we don't get to it today, save that one for tomorrow. The adjudicator, my main man, the adjudicator, or main woman, my adjudicator. I don't know which one. But so nonetheless, Texas is able to finish the second half consistently the remainder of the season. It's a great question. I mean, the thing is, then you're asking me about if they're going to lose, because that's what that boils down to. You're asking me, do I think they're going to lose another game? I mean, I feel like a loss can happen. So I'm going to sell on it. Soft sell. Good question. But you're asking me, like, will they just go undefeated for the rest of the year? I'm not ready to say that quite yet. I hear where your head's at. I like where your head's at. It's not ready to quite say that at this moment. How about this? Instead of going to a break, why don't we just go ahead and bring in Ian? So let's go ahead and go to the Speakeasy Lounge, and let's bring in Ian McMackin and find out more about Wyoming, because you guys got questions. I've had no answers for you. So I'm going to just bring in the man who could tell us everything we need to know, and get your questions in the chat for him as well. Let's go to the Speakeasy Lounge. Ian, do you feel like you're ready to have a drink? Do you want to have an old fashioned, a bourbon of some sort, some scotch, anything? Does that put you in the mood?
Well, it might be a little early for that, but I think by the time I'm in Austin, I'll have a few of those. So,
are you going to get on the day of, or are you going to get here a day early?
I'm going to get in a day early.
Smart man. All right, what's on your agenda for Austin?
Probably somewhere downtown. I've been to Austin a few times before, so I got a pretty good feel for downtown. Probably go down somewhere on 6th Street. Obviously, a pretty obvious place for a lot of people to go when they come into town. So
yeah, absolutely. You are going to get some Elon Musk comments out there as well. Have you? So just don't I would tell you, don't get too distracted by the chats on the side there. So because those guys could be funny as well. So they're having to motivate.
I'll just focus on what you're doing. So what you're asking.
Yeah.
Is that what I should do?
Yeah. I'm just telling you, those guys can get funny and they can throw you off. But those guys are usually pretty good. Ian, you got to tell me something about Wyoming. Let's start with the thing that's kind of caught most people's attention here in the state of Texas, which was the win against Texas Tech. I want to know from your expertise. I'm obviously you were at the game, you were able to see what happened. What did Wyoming do so well? Because I think Tech was a team that a lot of people, expected to compete for a Big 12 championship. A lot of high hopes from them. It was a good game. I watched it, but you tell me your thoughts. You have boots on the ground. Give me your interpretation of that game.
Well, I think first of all, Wyoming returned a lot of experience on defense.
Mm-hmm.
So I think a lot of people are not familiar with the Mountain West Conference or familiar with Wyoming football, may not realize that they had a very experienced defense returning, and they had a very good, good group of defensive players returning, and they have a very deep I think they have a great rotation of defensive linemen, go about 8 to 10 deep, so they could play a lot of different defensive linemen during the game. They have all conference guys across the defense. So the potential of this defense this year for Mountain West standards seems to be something that people are very optimistic in the Wyoming football program. And I think they did a good job with Texas Tech, keeping them down. They held them to 20 points after 4 quarters of football. So then we went into overtime, and Texas Tech got some. But Wyoming has the ability to put a lot of pressure on the quarterback and stop the run with those defensive linemen, Cole Goodbow and Jordan Bertinelli and Devon Harris and Sebastian Harsh, and they had the top middle linebacker in the conference. Actually, the preseason defensive player of the year in Easton Gibbs. So there's some talent on that defense, and I think they were able. And with Coach Bowl coaching for a long time, he's been at Wyoming for 10 years. He was a longtime assistant at Nebraska. He went to North Dakota State and won 3 FCS championships in a row and built a power there. So a smart coach with a great coaching staff. And Oscar Giles used to play football at Texas. He was an assistant at Texas. He's a defensive line coach. They just got good assistants, and I think they were well prepared for that game. And playing in Laramie is not an easy thing. It's at 7,200 feet. The crowd was really into the game. The students were great. It was a raucous atmosphere. It's not going to be 100,000 like we're going to see in Austin this weekend, but it was still a very vibrant crowd. So I think Texas Tech just came into kind of that perfect storm a couple Saturdays ago.
And then obviously last week they get that win against Portland State. And the thing that seems to stand out from that one is that the sacks. It seems like this team really has the ability to get to the quarterback, and they've done that over the last 2 games. Talk to me a little bit about Portland State, but more importantly, this team's ability to get to the quarterback. Who are the guys that are kind of been some of the most effective pass rushers so far?
Well, I think the one guy that a lot of people don't know about, because he was last fall camp going to last season before Wyoming played Illinois, Sebastian Harsh was considered the best, maybe one of the best defensive players on that team. And he went through the whole year of rehabbing his knee. He is really a pretty athletic defensive end that has the ability to put a lot of pressure on the quarterback. So he's an emerging player. I think he has a potential to be a superstar type of player at Wyoming or in the Mountain West Conference. And then you got, you're dealing with Devon Harris coming back. He was an all Mountain West player last year. He's a great pass rusher. He's like a 6-year senior, so he has a lot of experience. And then just the interior of that defensive line is also pretty good pass rushers. You don't think a defensive tackle is getting a lot of sacks sometimes, but with Goodbow and Bertinelli, those are 2. And Braden Siders is another one. So they have some depth. The defensive end, Braden Siders, can put some pressure on the quarterback. So that is definitely a strength. I think regarding Portland State, Wyoming took their off the gas a little bit in that game. I think their foot off the gas, so to speak, and got to a comfortable lead, had a chance to go up 38-10, turn the ball over. Portland State came back, scored a touchdown, eventually made it a 14-point game. So it wasn't a great effort, but it was a good enough effort to get through against the FCS opponent. So.
So let me ask you this. Obviously, Andrew Peasley, the quarterback, obviously at Wyoming. Texas is really good up front on a defensive line. I don't know if you had a chance to watch the Bama game or not, but they do have a way to get to the passer. Who are the guys tasked to stop that defensive line, and how does that match up in your opinion?
Well, if you're talking about the Texas defensive line, I think that's an interesting matchup because Wyoming seems to be pretty solid on the offensive line this year. They're led by Frank Crum, a 6-year senior. He's actually a Laramie native. He's a Wyoming native. His dad played football for Wyoming in the 70s. His dad was an NFL guy, by the way, and he's a local guy. So they think he's a pro prospect. That's going to be an interesting matchup for him against that athletic defensive group of Texas. And then I think basically the offensive line is solid. How well they can match up against Texas down in the heat, in Austin, against those athletes. They're going to have to protect Andrew Peasley in this game. Wyoming's going to have to be able to develop the run game. I think they need to shorten the football game. I don't think they need to get into a scoring type of thing. Wyoming is a run first mentality football program, playing defense. Don't make a lot of mistakes. I think they need to shorten this game and try to keep it at a slow pace, kind of like when on the basketball court and people slow that pace down, if you know what I mean. Try to work the clock. And I think that's what Wyoming is going to have to do in this game, because we don't want to get in this possession game where there's constant possessions going and 3 and outs and things like that. So,
what has the coach said? What has Coach Bowles said about, the matchup? Obviously you've talked to him this week. What has he said about, Texas, and kind of your thoughts on what you saw when you watched Texas versus Bama this past weekend?
Well, what I see, first of all, Coach Bowles says this is the best Texas team he's ever seen. Okay. Mm-hmm. So he's been around the block. He's played it against Nebraska or against Texas when he was at Nebraska under Tom Osborne. He's been playing and coaching since the 80s. So he's seen a lot of Texas football teams. He, of course, played in the Big 12 or against Texas, Big 8 back in the day against Texas. So he's very high on Texas, and he knows this is going to be a big challenge for Wyoming. And what I see with Texas, I see a team that win the national championship this year, what I saw against Alabama. And it's going to be a game for Wyoming where they're really going to have to come up with a good strategy, try to, as I mentioned, shorten the game, try to keep a conservative game, and try to stay in it and win it in the fourth quarter. Because what I see with Texas is I see a lot of speed. I see there's years, every year you go and play Texas, and Wyoming's played Texas. I think this is the 4th time or last decade or so. There's always talent in Texas. There's always talent in Austin and for those Longhorns, but sometimes they don't always play up to that level of their talent. And I think what Coach Bowl was saying is now what we're seeing with Texas is they are playing to their level of the recruiting. And he looks at this as being a big challenge in the game, and has a lot of respect for Texas. So.
Texas boy asked, I guess, a question here, and I think it's related to the team. He goes, will they be able to handle the fans? They will be a part of this. It's a true SEC environment. In other words, they'll be traveling on the road. Night games, there'll be 100,000 people in the stands. There'll be lights. It'll be crazy. How do you think that Wyoming team? You think have they experienced anything that would be similar to that? And is there a way for them to simulate that?
Well, I think history of the program has experienced it. Because we've played in SEC country. Through the years, we've played those type of games, and at times we've played fairly well. Actually went down and won in Tennessee about 15 years ago in front of 100,000 fans. But that's when their coach was out the door, and they were kind of on a decline at that point. But that's a concern for Coach Bowl, because in the Mountain West Conference, what you're going to get, and they go on the road, and they played at Illinois last year, but they only had 36,000 fans at Illinois. They went to BYU last year, played a pretty competitive game at BYU, and I think BYU about 60,000, something like that. So playing in front of a crowd of 100,000, that's something that the staff's definitely working on. They're gonna, I guess, during practice sessions, we have an indoor practice facility and stuff. They're gonna do some kind of noise through the speakers, try to simulate what they're going to get in Austin. Fortunately, I saw that it was going to be 86 degrees or something. I don't know what's going to be at kickoff. Last time we went down there about 10 years ago, I think it was about 100 degrees. So
that was last week, by the way.
Yeah, I saw it. I've been watching the weather report. So I saw the heat going down a little bit, which I think it's still going to be humid and hot, and at least it's an evening kickoff. But those are things Wyoming's going to have to deal with, kind of like with Texas Tech coming up to Laramie, having to deal with the 7,200 feet. And there's things that you have to deal with. But that's going to be – but I think also the players get really excited. A lot of these players get excited to be able to play in that environment in Austin and Texas. And I think that can also be a big motivator for a lot of players. But the concern is maybe some of the guys get intimidated, especially in that first quarter with the crowd. And that's when those games could get out of hand pretty quick. So,
yeah. One of the things I want to ask you before you go is that you saw Isaiah Nayor when he was there in Wyoming. What kind of player was he? When he was there, there's a lot of receivers here. He got injured last season, so we haven't really had a chance to really see Isaiah Nayor in a game. Kind of your thoughts on him, and what were kind of the thoughts about Isaiah when he left the program?
Well, Isaiah was our main weapon for a couple of years ago. Wyoming's passing attack has kind of been the thing that always has held this bowl program back because they play good defense, good special teams. They run the ball well, but the passing game when Isaiah played at Wyoming was very ineffective. The quarterbacks didn't do a good job delivering the ball, reading the defense. It just a lot of struggling. But I tell you what, he was the one guy 3 or 4 times a game would make a huge play for that Wyoming offense and made some big catches. And he had good speed. He could really, one thing I noticed, he could really go up and get the football and had good hands and traffic, and especially on that deep pass to be able to grab that ball. And he made some great catches, and he's definitely a guy I can see playing at Texas. I was going to ask you guys about it. I did see that he had a 1 for 14 so far this year. Is he down on the depth chart a little bit there? Or where's
it just they got to transfer in from Georgia, at Adonai Mitchell, and because of that, that's kind of puts him down a little bit on that depth chart, and then he was not really 100% for a lot of the offseason. And so there is that. So this is that. They've just got they just have a very, very deep room. And he's just kind of amongst the guys at this moment.
Yeah, when he left Wyoming, very disappointing. I think the fans were very disappointed because we could see him being our next superstar type wide receiver at Wyoming and being a really maybe the best wide receiver in the Mountain West or one of the top wide receivers in the conference. So it was people, and that was kind of when that transfer portal thing started picking up, right? I think it was that point. And at that point, it was first time in the history that you saw so many players at one time just leave a program. And I think there's a lot of disappointment with him leaving and stuff. But I think generally Wyoming fans do want to support players that played at the school in the past. And I think generally you got some bad apples out there, probably say differently, but they want him to do well. They want all these players to do well. When they move on to the NFL, let's say move on to the National Football League, they want them to do really well, like Josh Allen and some of those guys coming from Wyoming playing the NFL. So we'd love to have him right now. That's all I got to say. So,
all right, last thing, and I'll let you run, Ian, is just give me your thoughts and maybe predictions, even if you don't give me a score prediction because you need some time on that, but just kind of your thoughts, from the Wyoming perspective, about this game. And another thing is, if it's not a win, if it's not an upset, are there other wins to be had for the program?
Yeah, I think that's a good question because Wyoming's off to a good start. They beat Texas Tech at home, and then they got their win over Portland State. They're 2-0. And really, the goal I think going forward for Wyoming after this Texas game is to win a Mountain West Conference championship and maybe be one of the high-ranked G5 teams that gets in that quote-unquote bowl game. So the goals are out there. This is an experienced football team that Coach Bowl feels is a Mountain West Conference championship contender. And really what I think we would love to go in and knock Texas off. That would be a major upset. That would be the top news in the country. There's no doubt about it, I think. Realistically, is it going to happen? You never know. Things in this game do happen that's kind of bizarre sometimes. I think there's a chance it could happen, but I think what Wyoming really wants to get is they're getting there, play a competitive, game. Like Ed mentioned before, Coach Bowl wants to, I think he's going to want to slow the tempo down, shorten that game quite a bit, and try to get that running game churned up a little bit so the clock's rolling. And, if Wyoming can play within a couple scores and not have any and this goes for Texas too. You don't want to have any major injuries or injuries that are going to affect you when you get on the conference play. I think people can take a deep breath and say, let's move on to Appalachian State and the rest of the Mountain West Conference schedule. So.
All right. Well, thank you, Ian. Hey, tell everybody who's interested, or maybe they got family out there in Wyoming, or they want to check out your stuff this week. Tell them about how to find you on Twitter, how to find the website, just any information that you can give.
Thanks, Anwar. I appreciate you having me on. I'll definitely promote the Orangebloods and your show, I should say.
Appreciate it.
And I'll definitely retweet it or whatever if you send it my direction. So I do appreciate you having me on, and have a great day.
Okay, well, thank you. That's what was all right. We'll just let you go on that note. Thank you, Ian McMackin. I appreciate it. Ian, I asked you to promote your stuff on socials. So, but that's all right. That's all right. We'll find him. I'll get you his information that's out there. So listen, how you can find Ian if you're looking to find any of this stuff that he's got out there. It's go_com. So you can find him on Twitter. It's WYOGO_com. Ian McMackin, it's McMackin. If you're interested about anything Wyoming related, I'll do the promo for him. You want to do anything Wyoming related, you can also get him on goyogo.com, part of the Rivals Network. So thank you so much, Ian, for showing up. All right, let's do this. Let's do a quick break. And then when we come back, I'll do a couple of more last bit of a few more buyer sells, and I will address the comedy that you guys always just seem to show. But it's funny. I'm going to address it. My guy who came on from AL.com, who had the red face, I saw him in the press box. I will let you know how that conversation went. Because of you guys, I saw him in the press box. After this break, I will let you know. And he did say Anwar, so everyone has to do a shot.
This Orangebloods recruiting flashback focuses on one of the best defensive playmakers for the Texas program over the last decade. I'm talking about edge rusher Joseph Ossai. Ossai was one of the best players to come out of Tom Herman's 2018 recruiting class, although he was a low 4-star prospect who only ranked number 31 in the state by Rivals.com. Not a single recruiting service had him ranked as an elite prospect or inside of a national top 125 list. When we look at Ossai's recruitment, it was pretty cut and dry fairly early on that there were 3 schools that stood out above the rest. From the summer of 2017 all the way into October and November, Ossai kept a top 3 of Texas, Texas A&M, and Notre Dame. Of the Longhorns, Ossai said that Todd Orlando and Oscar Giles used the following sales pitch on him. Quote, "They tell me I could be that Nashawn Hughes type of player. When I watch some of these close games that they've been in, I can place myself in that defense and see myself making the moves to finish those plays. I watch how I could impact the defense and picture helping some of those close games be wins." The battle eventually turned into a Texas versus Texas A&M battle, with Tom Herman's staff taking on a Jimbo Fisher staff that had just replaced Kevin Sumlin. In fact, the Aggies had been considered the heavy frontrunner for Ossai, but the dynamics of his recruitment changed the moment Sumlin was fired from Texas A&M. It was the opening that the Longhorns dearly needed and received. In fact, by the time January had rolled around, Orangebloods was reporting from an A&M source that the Longhorns had taken the lead for Ossai. On the last weekend before signing day, Ossai took a surprise official visit to Oregon, but it still turned out to be a battle between the Longhorns and Aggies all the way up until signing day, when he eventually chose the Longhorns.
My dude asked, he goes, "Damn, Anwar, I was about to ask if I can still pre-order a Cybertruck." You guys are so wrong. So wrong. You know, okay. All right, there was a little Elon Musk resemblance. I ain't gonna lie. As soon as you guys said it, I was like, oh snap. And then I was trying to focus. I was trying to focus in on his stuff. You gave a lot of good information, by the way. So let me tell you what happened. So I get to the press box, right? And then I'm set up, right? So I get there first. I get there. So not the first one in the press box. I'm talking about Saturday at Alabama. And I see Michael Casagrande from AL.com walking towards my direction. And I'm like, oh snap. Okay. So I make sure I kind of move back my chair back just a little bit because I was like, I don't know if he's gonna swing or not. Let me just get in my ready position. Just in case. Let me just get in my ready position, you know? So he goes, hey, man, thanks for having me on my show. He goes, yeah, I don't, it was, he started saying like he got on and it was a light in his house and it was kind of above. He doesn't really know what happened. And then, and they said he started reading the chats. He started reading what you guys were saying and then it just threw him off. I was like, I was like, yeah, man, have you ever thought about just like buying a light or something to kind of put in there? And he's like, yeah, I don't have any of those things. I was like, oh yeah, it might help in the future. So he wasn't that mad, but he did acknowledge that he did have the red hue on his face. So we've had that. There was it was a slight Elon Musk resemblance with him, but I do appreciate him coming on the show because he actually, nonetheless, the goal is to get great information, and that is what he did. So shout out to Ian for doing that. I absolutely appreciate it. And by the way, can I tell you something? You can always tell single dudes. You can always tell a single dude by their backgrounds, because single dudes don't have curtains. Just if you ever you're seeing a single dude's house, we got blinds and we don't have curtains. That's how you know that I looked at Ian, because that's the thing. That's the thing about backgrounds that's so tricky about what we do nowadays. Zoom calls, stuff like that. People look at stuff, and there's certain things you can just look at and you can say, okay, family, so on and so forth. And then when you see blinds and no curtains, you're like, that's a single guy right there. That's a bachelor pad right there. That's the bachelor pad in Wyoming that Ian's got going on there. See, right now you can't tell anything. You can tell I could have done this, right? But before you could tell, like I used to, my other spot that, I had some people that helped me out. But I'm just telling you, that's it. And by the way, can I give y'all some pimping advice, by the way? So to my fellas out there, I know there's a lot of young fellas out there. I used to do this thing on my old show. I call it Pimp Game 101, when I give fellas some dating advice. But since we're on the subject of that, fellas, let me give you a little bit of advice. This is for all the single fellas out there. When you get your place, you get your crib, whether it's your apartment, whether it's a house that you buy for the first time, I need y'all to do something for me. Because you're going to be thinking in your head one way, but Uncle's going to give you some good solid advice here. I want you to decorate your place, but not too much. You need to have a couple of walls that don't have anything on it. This is strategic. This is a strategic thing that I want you to do. I want you to put up a couple of things. Make it look nice. Make sure it's clean. Like, you got to make sure it's clean for sure. Like, make sure you clean out the bathrooms and the toilets and stuff like that. But I don't want you to decorate it that much. Why is that? Because when you have a woman come to your house, see, like, women who are a lot of times are nesters, they're going to look around and they're going to look at your place and figure this needs a woman's touch. And so she'll be thinking of ways in order to help you decorate this place, in order to help it make this look better. Women are going to be better at this thing than we are anyway. But if you got the whole thing decorated, then she's like, okay. But if you just got just a little bit, you've got about half, and the other half is just whatever. Yes, I'm telling you, it works. It works. It works. So I'm telling you, decorate a little bit. Not a lot of it, and you'll meet somebody and she's gonna take you out. And I'm telling you what's gonna happen. She's gonna take you somewhere, or you give her a little money and she's gonna help you decorate it, and she's gonna feel like this is kind of part of her place too. This is a place that she can see herself in. Like, absolutely. Do women do that? Absolutely. I am telling you what I've lived. I'm not telling you what I've read. This is my life. Horns up. This is what I do. Horns up. Yes. You gotta just decorate it just a little bit. Just a little bit. Your action figures. Nah, that's all right. That's okay. That's okay. Leave your little action figures up. But the other stuff, I'll just give you a little bit of free advice. I promise you, I'll never steer you wrong. There you go. All right, let's do some more buy or sell. Let's get it. Let's do a couple more. I'll do a couple more for about 5 more minutes. Money being that you're going to want to be over all the time. And your problem is what? Oh, man. I got a woman who wants to come to my place all the time. Oh, snap. Well, that's a problem. You know how hard it is to get them to come over? That's how you... that's how you get them to stay, homie. That's how you get them to stay. It's not just about it. All right, I'm telling you, you gotta listen to the OG. I'm trying to help y'all. You're over here. That's why you're gonna be out over there doing nothing for the rest of your life. That's why there's a reason why Unc shows up smiling most of the time. Tyler, Ethan Burke finishes the season with 9+ sacks. I will buy on that. I mean, he's already starting off strong. I see him as a person that will only get stronger as the season goes along. So yes, Ethan Burke is on track to do those kind of things. So I'm looking for big things for Ethan Burke. I think he's for real. I think he's legit. And so yeah, 9+ sacks seems to be really that's something that's on there. So yeah, I will buy on that one. Hold on. I'm gonna finish arguing with the fellas over here in here. STL, the fellas don't do that. She gonna think you got other women, even though it may not be true. STW, you're missing the point, man. If she thinks you've got a little bit, women like dudes who they know have options. That's the most attractive dude. It's the dude in the club who's got people around him. That's the one that they're attracted to. If she feel like you don't have options, and if she feels like nobody else is interested in you, why would she want you? No, you don't. Yeah, she may think you have other women around. That will not be an attraction. There's a competitiveness that will kick in on that one. So understand that. Y'all don't listen to these people in here. They're going to steer you wrong. You're going to be single for the rest of your life. You ain't going to have nobody, or even if you don't want to be single, your pimp game is going to be so slow. No. Ask men who are in relationships and what their attractive level goes to. I'll leave it at that. I'll leave it at that. All right, let's do some more buy or sell. Y'all gonna doubt my game. My goodness, I'm here for it. We're gonna have to have a private conversation off channel, and I'm just gonna have to talk to the young bucks over here to help y'all out, because y'all ain't even thinking this thing out. Okay, if Brooks keeps dropping would-be TD passes, Blue will take over as running back too, because how important receiving backs are to Sark. Absolutely. You better not drop any this week. You don't have enough skins on the wall to do that. I'll buy on that. You can't. That was a drop pass. Like, Sark is not going to go for that. You will sit your butt down like Jonathan Brooks. That's the thing that's got to happen. And what's crazy about it is that Brooks was catching everything in the offseason. Like, Brooks was catching everything. I had a source tell me about this week. Like, he was the guy. He was Mr. Hands, and then all of a sudden the games have happened, and this has been going on, and everyone's kind of looking like, what? How has this happened? How did we get here? So no, Kyle, you're absolutely correct. Forget TD passes, just dropping passes in general. That has to be something that he tightens up, because yeah, he will find himself, sitting behind others. That will be an unacceptable thing with Sark going forward. So yeah, I'm with you. I'm going to buy on that one. Let's keep going. I'll make sure I get the rest. Pete Brandt is back. Here we go. Yormark will smile handling Texas the Big 12 trophy. Nope. He will not smile. And if he does smile, it will not be genuine. And so if I am, say I'm petty, I would talk. But I guess I wouldn't say anything in that moment because I wouldn't take away from it. If I was a Texas person, I wouldn't take away from the moment. Let the fans have it though. You guys in the stands in Arlington, you guys are the ones that should just let him have it. Boo him like he's Roger Goodell. As soon as he steps on stage, boo him, boo him, boo him. That's what he deserves for cheering against your team. He called on the gods. He's got to live with that. He will not be happy. But you guys make sure you give it to him. Hell, chant SEC. I think that will be the most amazing thing when he steps on the stage. A chant that goes throughout Arlington. SEC, SEC. You guys bring SEC banners. Bring all that in there. Bring it just means more. Like all of that, you should absolutely do. But is it? And in fact, you're right. No one should bring it. Bring it for the Tech game. Since he said he's going to be there, bring it. In fact, if I was the band and I was a band, I would at halftime make them circle around and make it look like it formed the letters SEC from them. I would totally do that. I'd play SEC stuff on the Jumbotron. Like I would make it. In fact, who's got money? Who's got money? During the game, have a plane. You know how they have those advertisements? That's it right there. Have a plane that flies over DKR that says SEC. It just means more. That's what you do. That you do. In fact, you do all of it. All of that. Love it. That's absolutely what you do. All right, let's do two more before we get out of here. I want to make sure I get in there. Brad, Texas has 2 or more regular season games decided by less than 7 points. Obviously, I'm going to buy on that one. The last 2 games were good, but it's going to be hard to just run through a schedule. I don't know if they're at the Georgia level of just running through a schedule yet. So I will absolutely buy in on that. And then the last one for today, Tyler back again. Tyler just making sure he's going to get all his questions. Quinn has figured out to touch on the deep ball, become more consistent throughout the season. So it's the wording of the question for me, Tyler, because I think the touch on the deep ball is there, but I also think there's a 2-parter in that, which is that also the receivers are at the place where they need to be. So that portion kind of works as well. So it's 2-pronged. So I can buy on that one, but I also got to add in the receivers are at the routes, the spots. Sarkisian has talked about that and how important that was to the success of the deep ball. So the receivers being in the right place, touching the deep ball, and of course the protection up front, that helps as well. All right, guys, it's been fun. It's been 3 hours. I love talking to every single one of you. Shout out to Clarence Hill. Shout out to Ian Musk, who was on the show as well, talking about Wyoming and, of course, breaking down everything as relates to Tesla and X. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. You should hit like and subscribe just for me being bold enough to say that at the end. Shout out to my main man, Aaron, who's producing from behind the scenes. Don't forget the rest of the day. You've got Jeff Ketchum, Chad Hastings. You got House Divided from noon until 3:30 to 5:30. You got Alex Dunlap coming in with Football with Friends. And then, of course, tonight, we've got the Outsiders coming in, giving you everything that you want and need. It's talking about... sorry about that. Talking about everything related to the Texas Longhorns, and they do a fantastic job with that night show. So there's more to be done. I mean, we get this party started at 6:30 in the morning, every morning, first show off the deck and going strong. So think about a channel that's giving you something from 6:30 in the morning to 10 o'clock at night. Got to go no further than this channel. Thank you for all your love. Thank you for your support. Yes, this is Babyface right here. This is my Babyface shirt. So I got a chance to check him out at the Cincinnati Music Festival, along with Snoop Dogg and Jodeci, you name it. We'll talk about that another day. But I appreciate everyone. Remember what I always say, live each day like it's your last, because one day it will be. And I will see you tomorrow. You guys take care.